what should I wear? I've only got a few minutes before the show starts. Let's see, I have a couple dresses here. I could go with the nasty bright green one with the clashing dark purple. Maybe the pink one with the horribly tacked on horizontal stripes? Horizontal stripes do make you look fatter. What ribbons do I even have? Oh wait, are we live now? Oh shoot, pajama pants and t-shirt it is. Welcome back to the show, everyone.
Beautiful. Stunning.
Just radiant.
The reviews are in.
The way that sweat-soaked t-shirt...
It just fills you with sparkle.
Yeah, so much sparkle. Oh boy. Welcome back to Tradin Faves, where we play games on our own time and discuss our favorite parts. The topic of today's discussion, Princess Peach Showtime.
Let's go.
About to get the princess up in here!
Some dude in the audience of like
some MC.
I was gonna say of like my brain just gave out on me and I couldn't think of what like the most popular stage to perform on would be. And it's like, make the joke, and my brain's just like, how about no?
What if we just like took all of the good ideas from your brain before you try to tell a joke on this comedic show of ours?
I know, listen, I'm just so excited to talk about this game that I can't even make a coherent word salad for this game. Man, we're off to a beautiful start.
We sure are. Well, okay, before we properly start, I have something... I want to return to something we talked about in our Smash Ultimate retrospective.
Ah, you went back and listened to that too.
For those that, were not watching the show at the time that we started doing those, we took every single character in Smash Bros. And ranked them on a scale of 1 to 5, not just like Smash Bros, but how much we like the character in like all of the media that they're in. And so what I want to say is that my opinions have changed. You could argue drastically about a number of characters.
Yeah, same.
As I've just experienced more with video games and, as we grow up and our mindsets change and stuff. So I just want to say, Princess Peach, 5 out of 5.
Heck yes, welcome to the cool kid table.
Princess Daisy, also 5 out of 5. Rosalina, 5 out of 5. I've grown to like all 3 of the Mario princesses way more than I used to. And I just want to say that I appreciate their place on the Mario roster and also the Smash Bros roster just a ton more now. And we'll specifically talk about Princess Peach in this episode, but I think it's fair to say that like whatever my opinions were at the time, they came from a place of like where I was at mentally at that time, but I'm just like, no, all 3 of these characters are great. And this needs to be amended.
We just add more characters to the, like, billions of 5s that we gave out in that video.
Most of the characters that are in Smash Bros. Are really good characters.
Yup.
They all come from great media, and then there's Rex from Xenoblade Chronicles. Sorry. This is not the place for that.
No, it's not. This is the place to talk about Princess Peach Showtime!
It sure is. So this is a fairly newer game. Princess Peach Showtime did release this year, correct?
Yeah, it came out this year.
It's all been such a blur.
God, this year has been chaotic for me.
Yeah. Okay, so with that, it's a newer game, and maybe not everyone has had the opportunity to try it yet because video games are darn expensive.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go ahead and say it right off the bat, like we usually do about games like this. It's not very story heavy. So you may be thinking to yourself like, oh, I don't want to get the really deep and intricate plot of this game spoiled for me. It's like almost nothing. But that said, it is a game that thrives on just showing cool creative stuff to you, and that can be a form of surprise. So, I don't know. Maybe listen to like a little bit of what we're talking about. And if it sounds like this is a game you do want to play, then stop listening and go to it. But it's definitely not a game for everybody, as we'll get into in the discussion.
Yeah, well, this will be an interesting one because this was also my recommendation to you.
Yep.
Yeah, we're jumping. It's funny, we're jumping around a little bit in the order of my notes, but do we want to start with our audience question?
Oh, I was gonna say before we get to
that. I'm jumping ahead.
So the thing that I wanted to say for people listening to this and why it might be interesting to hear our perspectives on this is that you will get two different perspectives about this. For one thing, David, you're a parent.
Yes.
And this is a game that can be very appealing to small children, so you will get the parent's perspective on this from him.
Mm-hmm.
In my case, I'm not a parent. I am single and have nobody but myself to blame for playing this.
Cue Mr. Lonely playing in the background.
Lonely. Yeah, so David will be speaking about this, like, obviously from his own perspective of playing the game, but also as a parent and his child's reaction to the game. Whereas I'll just be approaching this from somebody just, casual gamer going in playing a game for themselves. Grown man playing a princess dress-up game.
We're two grown men playing princess dress-up game.
Yeah. That is, listen, like, I'm not even gonna, like, beat around the bush or pretend that anything's not the way it is. I am extremely into, like, super girly stuff. And I will not apologize for that.
Mm-hmm.
And this game very much appeals to that sensibility of mine. But alright, enough faffing about, let's get to that audience question.
There it is.
So David proposed a pretty darn good question for this one. If you could add one more role for Peach to play in this game, what would you add? Like one other archetype alongside her sword fighter, figure skater, cowgirl, whatever else. Like one more role as DLC or maybe like an idea for a sequel or something.
What would you add? I'm very curious what you would say, actually.
Right. I thought of a couple.
Me too.
Some were a bit more obvious, but there's one that like my brain landed on.
Okay.
That I couldn't get out of my head, and that would be a boxer.
Ooh.
And there is some precedent for this because, as you may or may not have heard the news from back in the day, Punch-Out Wii, in addition to Donkey Kong, for some reason the devs also had this like early idea of Peach being one of the secret boxers.
That's wild.
That you fight in the game, and then they were kind of like, well, it's a men's boxing league. Your objective is to beat up a woman. The controversy might be too much.
Whether or not, feminism aside,
right?
It would open that conversation, and they didn't know if they wanted to open that conversation.
Because even if they did it with the best intentions and trying to be inclusive, still is a boss fight where it's a boxing match of a man fighting a woman, and that's, hot button issue, so they couldn't do that. So I'm just saying, make Peach a boxer on her own, give her own little, like, stage play showing, like, a boxing ring, maybe have, like, marionettes that are the enemies. You could even make the game kind of play like Punch-Out, because Punch-Out is very straightforward. I was thinking about this. I'm like, that would be so neat if they did that.
Oh, that would be sick.
And just imagining, like, the little, like, training montage cutscenes of Peach, like, beating a sandbag and whatever. Like, it'd be great.
Mm-hmm. Ah, dude. Okay, so for me, I had one in mind. And I literally, like, wrote it down. I was like, this is what it's gonna be. This is what my pitch is gonna be. And that was a pirate. Just because I think it would be really sick.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to have it be that. However, then I encountered a piece of fan art. That I was like, oh no. My goodness.
Oh, he's showing me the art.
Yeah.
Oh no.
You can maybe put it in the description or something, but it's my, oh gosh, I'm gonna butcher your username. Mecelinet posted some concept art for a clown Peach. And like, it's so freaking good. Just like, because they did like the dress, the special dress, what the sparkler would look like, and I was like, oh my goodness, I could have so much fun with this. I absolutely want to play in this play style, like whatever it would end up being, because like it would be so much fun.
Yeah, it's crazy how, like, we were just joking about, like, a, like, stand-up comedy Peach.
I know. That's why I was laughing about it.
This is actually the correct way to do that. You make her a clown.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
Okay, that's the thing. Like, you could have just said, like, clown, and it would have been like, I don't know. But, like, seeing the artwork here, I'm
yes.
Like, yes.
Like, as soon as I saw the art, I was like, oh, that would have been so good.
She does her little, like, pose thing and she honks her nose. That actually would be really cute.
Yep. I could see it being really cute and fun.
I'd be into it. I will say, among the other ideas that I had, of course, our minds both went to pirate, because that's, like, one of the obvious ones. I think another one that would be a lot of fun is, like, a pop idol.
Yep.
But that's another one that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
So I respect the clown thing.
Yeah, we're out here making the stranger
the stranger ideas.
But that actually would work.
Yeah. All right. Well, as we said, this is an open-ended question for everyone watching. Like, please tell me in the comments if you have other ideas for, like, different roles that Peach could perform. I'd love to hear these, because already the clown thing just, like, blew my mind.
Yeah!
So, definitely want to hear more of those.
Yep.
All right. Well, normally, we start by talking about our history with a given franchise. We've already kind of talked about...
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know how much we've talked about our origins with the Mario series as a whole, but...
The Mario series? I mean, not totally. I'm trying to think where I first encountered Mario. Because, like, it's kind of one of those ones that's just always been around.
Right. It's always present.
Well, and because, like, we had friends growing up who were big Nintendo fans, and so, like... Mario Kart, Mario Party, Mario 64. They were always just, like, around us.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna joke and say, like, where did you first hear of Princess Peach?
Yeah. It's funny, too, that you put your little thing at the beginning about what you said about Peach in the previous one, because while I already gave her a 5 out of 5 in that video, I have become a much bigger Peach fan since that video as well. Because, like, before I just kind of liked her. Now I'm like, oh no, Peach is one of the cool ones. Like, I love Peach. And maybe it's because I've been watching a bunch of Alpharad content. There's our shout out to somebody way more popular and famous than us.
I'm sure he'll appreciate the 2 subscribers headed his way. One of them is me, maybe.
You should. His stuff is good. But yeah, like, I've just really grown to appreciate Peach a lot. And also, my wife, so after we put out the video, she and I had a conversation. And I asked her for permission to share this story. Because, we talked about Peach and how we were both like, yeah, no, we like Peach, but, like, it is what it is. And she's like, so let me give you my 2 cents on why I love Princess Peach. She said, so being a girl growing up, there are not a lot of female characters back in, like, the 90s that you could play as.
It's true.
And she said, so for me, when I booted up Mario Party and I could play as a character that looked like me, was really special to me. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. She said it was Peach and Chris in Pokemon Crystal.
Yeah.
Were, like, the 2 that she was like, this meant a lot to me. And so, like, and it was interesting because, like, after that conversation, I gained a lot more respect for Peach as a character.
Same.
That, I think in the Smash Bros. Thing you mentioned about Peach's personality and how it, like,
There wasn't one.
Well, I'm trying to remember. You said something along the lines of, like, regressing feminism.
Yeah, I did say that, and I do regret having said that.
Well, but it's interesting because, like, I know why you said it, because she's not, like, the girl boss archetype that so many female characters in gaming are now.
Right.
Like,
here's the thing, though. I will say I did not mean that as a jab at the fact that the character is very feminine, because a lot of characters that are just overtly feminine get a lot of hate for that reason. For me, it was more so that she was always the prize to be acquired at the
damsel in distress
at the end of a game where you play as a male character. Like, that was something that bothered me, and you also noticed that's something Nintendo was pushing away from more recently.
Yes. Well, and that's what I was gonna get to, especially with this game coming out now. Peach is really starting to just stand on her own, which is really cool about this game. That she has grown and changed as a character, and I think that's. I don't know. I just think that's really neat because, like, even, she had one game before this, which was Super Princess Peach, and, like, I never played it, but I watched a Let's Play of it. I think it was Peanut Butter Gamer, and then I went back and watched Alpharad's playthrough of it, which was hilarious. And, like, I don't know, even then, Peach didn't... She was kind of, like, hidden in Mario's shadow in that, like, that game, you're gonna rescue Mario instead of Mario rescuing her, and Bowser's the big antagonist. Like,
it's trying to present it as an exception to the norm.
And so, like, we got that one game, and then just nothing. Because, it didn't... I don't think it sold terribly well. And so, like, when this game just came out of nowhere, and it came out swinging, like, because I remember the Nintendo Direct where we just saw the briefest bit of her, and it was like, oh yeah, Peach is getting a brand new game, and I was like, this game looks gorgeous, and, like, what's it gonna be? And then later, when they revealed more information, they're like, yeah, it's all a stage play, and so you get different costumes. And I was like, I'm sold. I'm buying this day one. Like, I'm buying this on release day. I'm so excited.
And then you were telling me not to play it because we're gonna play it for the show.
Yeah, well, because it was like I played it because you didn't get it release day, I don't think.
No, not release. I got it like a month or two after it released.
And so like when I'd finished the game and I was like, dude, there's a good podcast episode in here with like a lot to talk about. Like, let's play this for the podcast, because I want you to play this. And then you kind of turned that against me. You're like, hey, if we don't do this soon, I'm going to just play it on my own. And so I was like, okay, we're doing it next.
Next game, I guess. Yeah, it was good. It's an irrelevant point at this point now that you've actually been talking about the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking about it. I'm like, probably the first that I heard of the Mario series in general, but definitely Princess Toadstool, as she would have been known at the time. It was probably the Super Mario Bros. Super Show that introduced me to this franchise.
Oh, my goodness.
That's how I found most of the video games that we did growing up, was because of the TV shows.
Yeah.
Like, that's how we found Pokemon, that's how we found Sonic.
Mm-hmm. Did Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog happen first? I don't remember.
I don't know.
I'm reaching too far, but I'm getting old. Which makes the fact that I'm the one who recommended this game even funnier.
Yeah. Not that you would deflect this, but you could deflect it, saying you're like, oh, I'm a parent and I bought it for my kid. But
I actually watched. I'm throwing out so many YouTubers. I watched Arlo did a video, and he did this whole sketch at the beginning of like this guy going to pick up the game. And he's like, "No, it's for my daughter." And then like he throws out like a random name, and then just like, yeah, I'll get the warranty. She can be pretty rough on, she's young, and just like.
That's funny.
It was just really funny, and it's so funny though because he's also playing like it's a conversation with himself, and the other guy is the GameStop employee. He's like, dude, I literally do not care. Like, play whatever you want to play, and I'm like, that's the way to be, man.
That's funny. With games like this on the podcast, I always prevent myself from watching YouTube videos until after we've recorded the episode, so that way, like, my thoughts are my own.
Hey, you don't just steal from other people.
I wasn't gonna say it like that, but yeah.
It depends, but yeah, no, that's valid.
Not just aping the opinions of a more successful YouTuber.
See, I find that nobody agrees with my opinions, so I can just watch whatever I want and then disagree with everyone.
Look, man, I got some weird takes too. We've got a whole show built around this idea.
Yep.
The Venn diagram of Elden Ring and Princess Peach Showtime players is like me.
It's just...
there's like maybe 2 pixel width of circular overlap. Man, we're having a lot of fun talking about nothing. You want to get back to...
Yeah, let's talk about this game.
Okay. Since there's not too much to say with history, since this kind of is its own unique beast, we'll get started by talking about the presentation of the game. This covers the visuals, the graphics, the art style, as well as things like the soundtrack and the sound effects and voice acting and whatever, where that applies. So first, let's talk about the visuals. What do you think about the way the game looks?
Personally, for me, I think the visuals are one of the strongest parts of this game.
Agreed.
Like, the game looks good. like there's a lot of just neat little animations that just ooze so much personality. Because, like, being an older gamer and knowing a bit about game design, I can see how they put the pieces together to, like, make this game function, but I can suspend my disbelief enough to just be like, okay, whatever, I'll just enjoy the game. And there's a lot of just neat little details in this game. Like, if you go into the basement, they're, like, Peach has this animation where, like, she's, like, nervously looking around.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that is such a cool little detail for this little area that, like, if you don't stand still and look for it, you'll miss it. But, like Peach is still there. Like, she's still herself, but, like, she's putting on the brave face and pushing through it to do all of this cool stuff. She's acting.
Right.
And then also, like, there's her little dance that we would always... we found that GIF and we would just share it all the time.
There was a lot of good idle animations in the game. They would make her different idle animations vary depending on what kind of environment you were in. Well,
even just, like, fun little things, like being able to just slide down the banister instead of walk down the stairs.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
Like, finding that, the moment I found that, I was like, this game's a 10 out of 10. This is the best. Like, this game rules. Because they cared enough to put this little detail in there when, like, they didn't. The game would have run fine and could have shipped without that. But somebody was like, no. This will be fun. Let's put it in there because it's fun.
The game is chock full of cute little details like that.
I'd argue the only graphical hiccups that really stood out to me were the loading areas. And, like, like those, you see it. And you're just like, ooh, that is chugging. It is struggling. But I can also ignore it because I'm like, well, the game is loading. Like, it's not affecting gameplay or anything, so I don't care.
There are a handful of areas, like, very minor moments where you get, like, frame rate stutters and not perfect optimization. I'm willing to understand that this game was not made with a Mario level budget.
No, they gave him, ironically, the princess budget, which is much less than Mario.
We'll get there one day, but the game is mostly functional. It's not going to do anything egregious. If you're already playing on, a less powerful console like the Switch to begin with, this is a game that runs well enough and gets the job done.
Yep.
And like you said, for the scope of this game, it looks great. Obviously, the simple setup is, yes, it's a limitation of the budget, but they utilize that well in making it look like a stage play and having stuff that actually, to the game's credit, doesn't look real. It looks like props and set up scenes for a play, which is something I really like.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things too, is you can tell, like, because, like, the level, it's all a play. You can tell what's real danger and what's not. Because you have, like cardboard cutouts of fire, and it's like, oh no, there's fire there!
Oh, so scary.
But then, like, you see, like, a spaceship that's, like, actually on fire, and you're like, oh, this was not a planned part of the production.
This wasn't how it was supposed to go.
This is the Sour Bunch at work, which I think is really funny.
Primarily, the thing that I want to highlight most, because as we said, like, there's very simple environments, and it's designed that way on purpose. So you're not going to see something that's like Breath of the Wild scale, like massive vistas with tons of detail or whatever. But the area where this game really excels is in its animation. Peach finally has a more expressive face, and I'm like,
yes!
Thank goodness.
Yes, she is so expressive in this game.
She can actually, like, you can look at her face and tell that she is having human thoughts. Which, like...
Again, to call back to, like, some of our...
From Mario Sunshine to, like...
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even up to Odyssey.
Like...
You wouldn't get that.
Because... I can't even remember where we had this conversation and what video, but, like, you mentioned that, like, Peach very much had, like, Barbie doll expression, you know? Like...
Yeah.
She didn't emote because she just had the same face all the time.
It's
and
just
here,
like, if she's sad, you turn up the eyebrows a little bit. If she's angry, you point them down a little bit. If she's happy, you just leave them at a level. But, like, it was never her face that was animating, and so it was, like, it was frustrating that they wouldn't do anything with the character. And again, like, I'm thinking back to Mario Sunshine, there's so many shots, like, in the cutscenes of Peach just, like, staring at something.
1,000-yard stare.
Yeah.
She's staring into the future thinking about this game.
When the animators would finally give her her dues.
Yeah.
So it's just really nice to see Peach so, like, well animated.
Yeah, animated and full of life.
Mm-hmm. And the sort of, like, diorama-style camera angle that the game has during gameplay works really well to the game's credit. It's very reminiscent of Luigi's Mansion.
Yup.
And, like, in some ways, this matches the vibe of GameCube Luigi's Mansion better than its two sequels do.
Yes.
Not in terms of, like, the really intense lighting, which is, like, my favorite thing about GameCube Luigi's Mansion, but just, like, it feels like a small, cute little world that was perfectly customized for Peach to be in.
Mm-hmm. It's very unique and exclusive to her. Was that all you had about visuals?
For the most part, yeah. Just animation really, really good.
And animation, like I said, is one of the highest bits of praise I can give this game.
Like, I think, like, even to go beyond just, like, Peach as a character, but everything else, like, all the character designs and the art style, everything is very readable, which is perfect for gameplay, like, because they throw a lot of just concepts at you, and, like, you can pause and look at the controls and learn how to do stuff. But a lot of the times, like, a new thing is just thrown at you, and just by, like, looking at it and knowing what your abilities are, you can intuitively go, like, oh, this is what I should do. Which is really good character design and, like, art direction for a game.
Yep, absolutely. If you want to move over to sound...
Right. In terms of sound, let's talk about the music first.
This soundtrack is just good.
It's really good.
It's funny, too, because, like, my first playthrough, I was like, oh, yeah, there's, like, one or two tracks I really like. And then when I was playing through it with you, and then, like, listening to the soundtrack, I was like, no, this soundtrack is really good. Everything just fits the vibe. And, like, there is a wide range of styles in this game. And so it's really cool to, like, see that range.
My only slight on the soundtrack is that at times it sounds generic, because what they are trying to do is, you know, match a familiar style of music with a familiar, like, stereotype for a role. And so obviously, like, you see a kung fu warrior and you're going to hear Chinese instruments. You see a figure skater and you're going to hear beautiful orchestral music or whatever. Like, there are some of those that, like, because they're stereotypical, I'd say mostly, like, the orchestral stuff in the soundtrack sounds very generic. Maybe also, like, there's not as many, like, leitmotifs, which is, you know, like, recurring melodies that play from song to song. I think maybe the game could have done with a few more of those. But then, like, some of these styles of music became cliches because they're really good styles of music. And, like, some of this stuff you'll just be bopping. like the jazz and like some of the disco kind of sounding stuff, and even like though I said like the orchestral stuff, like some of the figure skating music really caught me by surprise. Like there are some really good tracks here. And and also the fact that there's like multiple music tracks for each archetype. It's not just you put on your costume and then this song plays for the rest of that level. There's like some variety. There's like the cheerful, triumphant sword fighter music, but then there's like the scary, intimidating sword fighter music and the and so on for like each of the different roles, which it's good. It sets the mood just right.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's very well balanced. Yeah, I got nothing but praise for it.
There is like especially like among the best tracks overall in this game soundtrack. They're top notch.
Yep.
I would recommend giving the soundtrack a listen and finding your favorites. To pass the bill a bit, talk about sound design and stuff. First thing I want to cover, which is probably something that you thought about a bit more than just like the sound effects in general, is the voice acting.
Yup, that was exactly what I had next. Good old Samantha Kelly.
Yup.
It's so funny because my brain, here's our Sonic tie-in, much like Sonic Frontiers. They had her go deeper on the character and go into like her lower register, but unlike Sonic Frontiers, it's only slightly.
Yeah,
it's not as dramatic, but like because Peach has a very like high falsetto kind of voice, and so just by dropping it just a smidge, it allowed Samantha Kelly to really play with her range. And like do more for Peach, and I really liked it.
Well, and another really charming detail is that she does her normal sort of falsetto Princess Peach voice while she's just, you know, being normal Peach. It's like when she changes into each of the roles, like she adjusts her voice accordingly.
Yup.
And that's one of the things that I really like, because when you get to some of the more serious archetypes, you know, like the kung fu fighter and the ninja and whatever, she does go into that deeper register and has a more serious tone. But then also, like, you know, goes into different registers for different things, like the what am I thinking of? Like the mermaid or the figure skater. The baker, like she plays around with like different bits of voice acting depending on what the situation requires, and it's like, oh, these are all great.
Yeah, well, and it's especially good too because like when you think about it, it leans into like this is Peach playing a character. So like it's still her, but like she's playing with her voice and acting.
Yeah.
And so it like lends itself perfectly to that. Also, just fun fact while I was looking this up, I didn't realize Samantha Kelly also voices Toad.
Yeah.
I did not know that. And I was like, what the heck?
Compare the two voices and be amazed.
Yeah, like as soon as I read that, I was like, oh no, it connects. I just didn't realize it until it was spelled out for me.
And that's very convenient considering that Toad is the only other Mario character
in this game.
And
the toads are barely in this game.
It's true, yeah. Even like, so obviously there's not like fully voice acted cutscenes or anything. It's just like grunts and like short one-liners and things.
So they can keep it the same across every language release.
Right. But also there's like enemies that make different grunts and noises, like the boss sound effects and everything. There's some good like screams and guttural wails in the game too.
Yeah. My brain immediately goes to like one of the sparklers just like
It's good in terms of voicing. Like, it's like everything, and you're gonna hear us say this a bunch throughout this episode. It's simple, but it's effective.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the actual sound effects, I will say that for the most part, like, things just kind of blend in. They sound very natural and, like, non-intrusive. But every now and then there are some sound effects that are really good and have, like, just a really nice sound to them. Things like the Sword Fighter Peach doing, like, the dodge move and then, like, the slashing sounds. Things like when bosses are about to use, like, some of their stronger attacks, there's this really, like, warbly techno sound that is really cool. It's mostly generic stuff, but then occasionally there's some sound effects that just kind of tickle my brain in just the right way. Like, ooh, that sounded good.
Mm-hmm.
Little sounds like picking up hearts as well. Those sound really nice.
Yup.
All right, then. We have sort of a different way that we want to cover this, since it's not the most story-heavy of games. We won't do, like, our typical breakdown of story. We'll sort of mix, like, what story there is in with our gameplay review. We'll do an overview, talking about, like, the very basics of the gameplay first, and then we'll go in and talk about each of the different roles and the levels that go with those roles. So this won't necessarily be, like, the events of the game in chronological order.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to be fair, like, this may be one point where, like, you'll want to just listen to us talk about the overview, and then if you do want to try the game, then you can jump off from there. But if not, we'll get to each individual part with a little more depth. We also will put out one more, like, more serious spoiler warning once we get to, like, final boss stuff, but...
Yeah. This is so interesting, and part of why I wanted to have this as a podcast episode is because of the conversation surrounding this game.
Mm-hmm.
Is people are like, this game is too easy.
Right.
And, like...
It is. If you look at the pedigree, this game was developed by Goodfeel, which, as you may know, was the people who made Kirby's Epic Yarn, a game where you literally cannot die.
Yep.
Or, like, take damage in any meaningful way.
Yep.
And the Yoshi Woolly World series.
Yep.
Yoshi's Woolly World and Yoshi's Crafted World or whatever. So this is a studio that's known for making really easy games that are meant to appeal to a younger audience.
Mm-hmm. And it's so interesting because, like, I can see the criticism. And, like, yes, this is an easy game. Like, this is very easy beginner-level platforming that it is asking. With some very weird, like, difficulty spikes in there.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, like, paragliding minigame, that I was like, why? But I don't necessarily think that means this is a bad game.
Mm-hmm.
Because the argument I've heard a lot of people say is like, oh, Mario is a game for everyone. Like, it increases in difficulty as the game goes on, and, you know, anyone can pick it up and learn it. And, like, people are saying that, like, this is just brain dead baby easy. To which I would like to put my first piece onto the table. This was my son's first real game that he's ever played. My son turned 3 this year. He technically was 2 when he started playing this.
Mm-hmm.
Cause, you know, he'd watch me and, you know, I'd do the thing where he's gonna hear this years later, just glare at me. I gave him a controller that was not connected and let him think he was playing along. And then one day, you know, I didn't feel like actually playing the game. So I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll give you the actual controller. I'll just let you run around the hub world and just goof off.
Yeah.
And he found his way into one of the levels and actually started playing it. And it was fascinating to watch him figure out how to play a video game. Because it was very much like somebody who had never held a controller before and figuring out, oh, this is how I move, and this button does this, and this button does this. And actually made it all the way through the level. And it was like, it was surreal because like the game is easy enough and like, you know, there's no punishment, there's no lives. If you die, you just lose some money, and I'd already beaten the game, so like, I had nothing, like, I was like, okay, you lost some of this money that I will get 100 more coins of just by playing another level again. You know, and like watching him figure it out, and to him, he was having the time of his life.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was so just enthralled by the idea of being able to move the princess around, and like she would do the things that based on the controller input. And it brought me back to like my earliest video game memory, which was playing Sonic 2.
Mm-hmm.
And being so enamored with the idea that if I moved Sonic, Tails would follow him.
Yeah.
Like, and how just mind-shattering that was as a kid. And so, like, I got a special bit of enjoyment out of this game just by virtue of this being my son's first real game.
Honestly, like, that's extremely beautiful to me, because that is the vision for a game like this, is for a parent to get to see their child play it and have fun.
Yeah. And admittedly, like, because he's still 3, he can't read, so, like,
Right.
I gotta read all the dialogue for him. And, like, you know, since then he has played more games and he has learned more and more. And it's been fun watching that. But, like, you know, I'm trying to find, like, the words for this, but, like, there is value in the game being easy enough that he can get into it.
Mm-hmm. It's, I think even beyond just, like, little kids playing a game, it's an audience that isn't used to playing video games. They can pick up this game and start enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I imagine for a lot of people, like, even if they're not kids, if they're not used to 3D movement with a joystick, this would be a game that would be very good at training them to do that. Teaching them very basic actions like, oh, the A button lets you jump in most video games.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another thing, too, is that, like, the game has very simple controls. Because you mentioned how, like, readable everything was.
Yeah.
But, like, the game utilizes a grand total of, like, 3 buttons and then the control stick to move.
Yeah.
And, like, you know,
is it even
this part
3?
of, like,
I thought it was just A and B.
You have A, B, and then you have, like, your pose button that you can go to the...
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget that that's even a button. So really, it's, like, 2.
Right, because that's not something that every player is going to figure out, but it's also not something that you need to do to beat the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right.
And so that's the thing, is like literally one of those buttons is like, this is your jump button, and then this is your unique action.
Yeah.
And that's it. But because it's so simple, I feel like it allows them to throw so many different gameplay styles at you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's like, okay, now you're a cowgirl, you have the lasso. Now you're a ninja, this is your ninja dash. You know, now that you're, you know, a sword fighter, this is how you swing your sword.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, they can throw a lot at you without having to teach you new things every time. Because, like you said, it's very readable.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't know, it keeps it simple and very easy to pick up on and learn.
Yeah, definitely. I will say for any of y'all that were in on that Dark Souls discourse about, like, should Dark Souls have an easy mode that's beginner friendly, and people are saying, like, Well, but like Dark Souls is designed in this very specific and intricate way, and you lose that if you just make it easy, so you just push the buttons and instantly kill the enemies and get through the game easily, because it's meant to be this arduous climb of a game. For anybody that is arguing in favor of that, and I'm going to be honest, I am too, you also need to argue for the opposite of that, in that a game like Princess Peach Showtime is designed this way intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is okay to let games exist for a specific audience.
Yep.
Not every game has to be made for every person, otherwise you end up with a lot of the AAA slop that's out on the market right now. I will say, for me particularly, with a game like being very simplified and designed for a younger audience, I got some feelings about that as a Kirby fan. Because Kirby games are very much like that, where they're designed to be, you know, like, played through and enjoyed by anybody. But then, like, Kirby games have that, you know, secret underbelly for the hardcore gamers that comes after all that. Like, everyone knows the real Kirby game starts once the credits roll.
Yeah, that is the one thing that I wish they would have added to this, was, like, a bigger, like, more difficult post-game.
Right. And I agree they could have gone more. There are some aspects of the post-game that, you know, were challenging and had impressed me. But it's definitely not to the degree that Kirby does. And
no.
I mean, go figure, how many Kirby games have we gotten? Like, they've had a long time to perfect this formula, whereas this is the first Princess Peach game.
Yeah, this is the first Peach game like this. And so they want to figure out this style.
Right.
But also kind of like, I like the setup, because I think another reason why a lot of people dunked on this game, I know there's a lot of people that played the demo and then based all of their feelings on the game off of the demo.
True.
And that was such a disservice to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because like each playstyle is broken up into acts.
Mm-hmm.
The level structure is very interesting. Because I want to acknowledge, we called him Mr. Hat, or the Hat Man, because he's the top hat guy.
Yeah.
Like, I love how each level has him hidden somewhere, with just like a very simple little, like, hey, help this guy, and he'll give you a ribbon, and it gives you like a unique outfit, for either you or for Stella, in every level, in addition to like the sparkle gems that you collect.
Mm-hmm.
But what I really like about the setup is that, so Act 1 is your introduction to the scenario and the play style. It's just like, hey, here's what we were playing as, here are the rules of how to play. And like, that is one level.
Yep.
And the thing is, a lot of people base their opinions on this game off of that first level, where it's like, let me teach you the rules.
Mm-hmm. And especially with the first floor of the game, with the first like 4 set of things where everything is really simple.
Really simple. Like, unbelievable. I think it was, you could play as the sword fighter and the patissier, and that was it.
Oh, that's like nothing.
Yes, that was like barely a taste of the game. And so, because I think a lot of people thought that was all you were going to get to play as the sword fighter, and that was all you were going to get to play as the patissier. And so they're like, wow, this game's going to be short and this is going to suck. Because if that was all of it, then yeah, I'd understand that opinion. But the thing is, then once you make your way up to the second floor, you know, you get Act 2. And like, immediately from the get-go, when you start Act 2, you are already in the costume.
Yeah.
It is like, you know, and basically, instead of it just being like, let me teach you how to play, it's okay, you should know how to play now. So now we're going to build on this concept. You know, we did the basic, most generic form of this. Now let's play with it and experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you know, once you finish Act 2, you know, the basement has Act 3 for everyone. And Act 3 is like, okay, we're here to rescue the Sparkla and also test everything you've learned up to this point. You know, and it's still not unbelievably challenging.
Right.
But, like, it's really cool seeing that evolution of like each of these ideas. Because there were some ideas where I'd like, you know, you do the base first level and you'd be like, okay, that was about what I expected. And then you get to Act 2 and they're like, oh, well, let's throw this cool concept at you. And it's like, oh, this is a direction I wouldn't have thought to take this, but it makes sense. And like, now I get to play with this environment.
It's if I could make a comparison here, I think I will unquestionably sound like an insane person for comparing these two games, like just based on the tone. But like, stick with me here. I have a point to make, but
a point will be made.
Consider what the Uncharted games are like, or cinematic games like Uncharted. I know it's dramatically different in terms of tone, but like, when we think about what those games are, typically they're mostly just movies. And then there's like button inputs to interact with things during these movies. It's essentially an interactive movie. And then at one point they'll like turn you loose in an open area and be like, okay, shooting is the gameplay here. Do this for a bit, and then you get back to the movie in between these little shooting segments. The game is actually quite a bit like that, where you're just put into scenarios that exist so you can see like the charming characters doing fun things. And you're not doing that much input, but it's the same appeal. Just, you know, one of them's like a family-friendly adventure thing, and one of them's like a gritty shooter thing. But it's that same idea where, like, the point of the game is maybe not necessarily that the gameplay is going to be really deep and complex. It's more so that you're there to watch characters do fun things. And so with that, with the gameplay being very simple and everything, like, I don't know. This is how I rationalize this in my brain. This is how I explain the fact that I enjoyed this game despite also enjoying the heck out of Elden Ring this year for very different reasons. Like, not every game needs to challenge me on an intense level. If I'm just watching the characters doing fun things and jumping and pressing the action button when the situation calls for it, like, it's fun.
I'm gonna just put a little asterisk here as, you know, but like this will, what you were saying right there will tie into something that I have written for like my final thoughts on this game. But yeah, it essentially, like, it's an interesting conversation.
It is. And this is why I'm not like screaming at the get-go of the episode, like, you all need to play this game. It's incredible. I get that, like, some people are going to be a little bit bored because complex game mechanics are what draw them to playing video games.
Yeah, exactly. But there's fun to be had here. And, like, this game has, like, a sense of spectacle to it. It does. Really fun. But if you don't, do you have anything else to say about kind of like the basic gameplay?
The only thing I will say that is, again, like, one small thing that bothers me. It's not enough to like dock points off of a review score, but like, it does bother me that in order to claim rewards that you find in a level, you have to beat the level at the end. That feels like a cheap way to add length to the gameplay, because it's like, you may have already beaten a level and missed a secret at the beginning of that level, and you just go in real fast and you're like, oh, there it is, that's what I missed, and you grab it. You can't just quit out of the level, you have to play the rest of it to the end. And the fact that there's post-game stuff that introduces other things to get in the level besides, you know, your first set of collectibles, like, you have to go back through the level, and that's another time that you have to play through the whole level start to finish, and say you only found 2 during the whole level. You have to bargain with yourself, like, do I want to quit and start over and make sure I remember where the other 2 are and get everything in one go, or do I want to just, like, get to the end, cash out, and then play through this level another time to try and find the one thing. Like, it's one thing that bothers me, and it's not just this game that's doing it. A lot of games have that, where it's like, no, you have to beat the level, get to the end screen, let it tally up your total, and then you get everything and you can cash out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like when games do that, because I feel like there is a lot more of my total playtime. Like, at the time that I was writing my notes, I had played the game for about 15 hours. And some of that was counting for, like, you know, not you and me playing through the game together, but, like, on my own time going back and hunting rewards. The actual game is probably only, like, 6 to 7 hours, but, like, it tacked on so much more playtime because I was just looking for secrets, and I had to beat the levels every single time, even though I was just in and got the secrets and I could have gotten out.
And it does beg the question, too, because this is a whole other point of topic, is, like, completion. You know, completing a game 100% versus enough, because, like, you barely have to do anything to beat this game.
It's true. The requirements are very minimal.
If you finish the levels, you should have enough sparkle gems to just open the boss door. And, like, they don't ask for that many.
Not to mention how many sparkle gems are just naturally in your path as you're adventuring, as opposed to the ones that are hidden.
Because, like, you'd miss one or two of them, and you'd be like, I'll go back and get those on my own time.
Yeah.
And, like, we're still, like, triple the amount that we needed to open the boss door. Which I appreciate about the Mario games, that, like, you don't have to 100% them in order to beat the game.
It's true.
You get, you know, some nifty rewards if you do, but it ultimately is, like, how much do you want to invest in the game?
Right, and some Mario games are very fun to 100%, and then there's Mario Sunshine, which I really like Mario Sunshine, but I stop liking it once it's time to 100% the game.
Yep.
So it's fairly generous of a game like this, which is already going for such a simple appeal, to not force you back through levels to find everything. Like, and so that's why my complaint about needing to quit out of not being able to quit out of a level to collect your rewards is such a minor complaint, because it's not going to halt your progression through the game. That is only if you want to collect everything and get all the rewards.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's everything that I have to say about general gameplay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're ready to jump from just kind of the general, like, flow of the gameplay and kind of how it works to actually talking about the specifics of each, I think the game calls it the ensemble.
Yeah, that is a good word for it, the ensemble. Also, like, do you hear all that chaos and fire and death going on outside?
They heard your opinions, they're coming for you.
They're like, he compared this game to Dark Souls. Put him to death.
Oh, man.
I was considering just cutting out that audio, but now that's funny, so I'll leave it in.
There you go.
All right, let's talk about the ensemble then. First up, we have the sword fighter.
Do you want to go first? You want me?
I'll go first with some general thoughts, and then we'll kind of build off of a discussion of what you have to say. But the first thing that I want to point out, the very first sword fighter level, and they do make you do the sword fighter first, right? Or can you choose between the other ones?
No. You do it first, because that's where you meet Stella, and there's also the tutorial of basic Peach.
Right. That's what I was
Peach
thinking.
Controls.
I couldn't remember, but the thing is that first level has great atmosphere in its opening. Like, things feel suitably tense. For what you're preparing for, because, like, you find Stella, like, running out, and she's all panicked, and then you meet up with her and everything. And then just like the sort of dark, gloomy atmosphere, seeing like all of these people all, worn out and whatever, and they're like, oh, the bad guys came through and they're ruining everything. And they kind of let you sit with that for a bit before they give you the sword fighter ability. I thought that was really solid. I liked that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me, because like the sword fighter, the design is amazing.
Yes.
Like from the moment that like they first revealed, before they revealed that we're going to get a bunch of different costumes, and I saw this and I was like, okay, a whole game of just this would be awesome.
Yeah.
but then like seeing that like, oh no, it's different scenarios, got me really excited. I think the only thing about the sword fighter, it unfortunately is really easy because it's the first one you are given.
Yeah.
And like the controls are very generous and forgiving. Like your attack button is also your parry button. And so like you can just unintentionally just parry moves and destroy enemies.
Right.
But it does make you feel powerful, and I love like the juxtaposition of like, when you're base Peach, there's all these, these like thorns in your way and you can't do anything about them. And like, you're kind of like struggling along, and then as soon as you get this power up, you feel unstoppable.
Right. You just like you slice through them all.
You feel like the hero of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, like I was saying, Act 2, I think, is where the sword fighter really gets to shine.
Yeah.
Because like now it's like, okay, it's not just like, the sword fighter cutting through the vines and going to the castle and fighting some generic mook knights or whatever. Now it's like the ghosts. And I love how like the ghosts are projected onto the walls like they would in a stage play. Because it makes them feel ethereal and untouchable, both literally and like in the narrative of the play.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's the fact that it's, like how you would imagine like a play having a budget. There would be like a light shining on a wall to make it look like a ghost, as opposed to, having a person standing there being a ghost or whatever. It's it's all really good. There's the thing about the sword fighter for me is that there's a lot of good like visual feedback and like gameplay feedback. Like Peach as a sword fighter moves very fast, and like the dodging looks really cool, and all of like the sword swinging and the monsters look really cool, and everything is very visually cool. I kind of feel like gameplay wise, it's just like you're running up to things and hitting them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the entirety of the gameplay loop. So I think maybe gameplay wise it's not my favorite, but like visually there's always something cool going on.
Yes. And then again, the Act 3 of like saving the Sparkla and fighting like, because like first you're fighting through the vines, and you can see, like, I love how they have the silhouette like telling the story, and you go into the castle and you destroy the plant. And then Act 2, you go and you fight, like, the ghost knight. And then in Act 3, you fight, like, the possessed king. And so, like, it's like a narrative story throughout all of it. It's just like, this is really cool.
And I do like that all of the different roles that you play do that sort of thing, where they build on this 3-act structure.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like telling a little bit of the story in each level. It's good stuff.
And plus saving the Sparkla is just cool.
Yeah. I feel like they put a lot of effort into that sword fighter one because it's, likely the one that you're going to do first.
It does, and it's one of those things I have mixed feelings about, how like the moment you finish Act 2, they immediately throw you into the third act. So you can be like, this is how the gameplay works.
That's true, yeah.
But yeah, like, Sword Fighter is neat. Again, the design is absolutely killer. The musketeer aspect of it is just cool. Good stuff, good stuff.
Next we have the ninja.
The ninja.
My weakness. Ninjas.
Yep.
Oh man, this is stealth done in such a cute way.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thing to say, because that's not usually the vibe they go for with stealth, but it's fun seeing Peach do all of the tropey ninja stuff, like having the fake like branches to cover herself up when she's hiding in the bushes, or like when you go in water and she's got the bamboo tubes sticking above to breathe. Like it's all the good cliches of ninja stuff.
Well, what's really cool about this one too, like I think of all of the parts that Peach gets to play, the ninja has the most like context sensitive animations. You know, because she also has like the stealth like scroll for when she's pressed up against the wall. You mentioned like the bamboo shoot. She can wall jump. If you get caught in the searchlight, she turns into the log with her outfit and teleport like ninja vanishes away. And like even one of my favorite little details about it. You mentioned like the branches when she's hiding in the grass. But also the lights dim and they shine a spotlight, like a green spotlight on her. So it's like, so that the audience watching the play can know where she is.
Yeah.
And that she's sneaking up on the enemy. So like it works as a play as well as like gameplay.
Uh-huh.
It's really clever and cool. And then of course just like the auto run segments are really cool. They feel fast and frantic.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the ninja scrolls are so cool.
Seriously, there's so much like the auto runner stuff is really neat. Like there's a couple of like auto scroll things amongst like the other levels, but they just feel really fast and cool in the ninja stuff. The fact that you can like run on the walls and
especially because like all of those you're chasing somebody in those segments, and so it's like yeah, running on the walls is super cool. They give you like a bunch of like, hey, quickly wall jump across here. Here's some poles to like do flips off of and stuff.
There was I believe it was during the second level. There's like the big fortress and there's like the guards on patrol, and I love how there's like the little wooden blocks that you can make sound, and then the guards will be attracted to that area where the sound is coming from. It's a lot of those good like cliches of stealth games, but you know, simplified. So it can
very simplified.
So it can work in a kid's game, but it's still like you see all the pieces there. They really thought about this one gameplay wise, and that's something that makes me happy.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, like you said, all the ninja scrolls where you do all the insane stuff, like the
wave, the
big
dragon,
wave of water, the flaming gears that make the dragon. It's it's good. It's every ninja cliche I want to see.
Yeah, and just Ninja Peach looks so good.
The
green, the black and the green look so good together.
Agreed. It's a good color combo.
And like you could argue that like Peach is so iconically pink, it's kind of weird seeing her in all these colors, but like it's really fun to see her not in pink, but to like play with her color palette.
The variety. It's the spice of life, they say.
Yes.
But we're not going to talk about spices and cooking yet. We're going to talk about the Wild West.
The Wild West, the cowgirl. Man, Cowgirl Peach got a glow up from Mario Party 2.
Seriously. The Wish.com badge and the cowboy hat. Like...
Look, I'm gonna be real. The horns are like the coolest part.
Yeah.
I think the horns are like the part that sells the outfit.
It's a really good look, and in terms of gameplay, the cowgirl stuff, it's zippy. Everything happens like at a really fast, frantic pace, and it's just like, this is good.
This is also the level that my son wandered into and started playing.
Oh, that's fun.
And it has a very special connection to me in that, and just like it's so cool because like the tone of these levels is so cool because like the first level the music is very like subdued and like depressing, and like how like you wander into this town and there is nobody around. There's the tumbleweed cliche, and like it's because everyone's been tied up and held hostage in the saloon, and so you like break into the saloon to go get the cowgirl power up and go rescue everybody. And then like from there, like once you become the cowgirl, it just goes. You know, you get your horse and you chase after them, and like I love the horse riding segments. Yeah, they're so much fun.
The horseback stuff in particular really stood out to me as like, again, still having very simple controls and it being a very basic concept, but it's so fast and frantic, and it's like, yes, give me more of this chaotic kinetic energy.
Yeah, well, and then the act 2, because like I played the first one and I was like, that was really good. And then you play act 2 because I was like, okay, how are they going to follow this up? And like the premise is, oh hey, yeah, the bandits have hijacked a train. It is now off the tracks and has completely destroyed this town, and they're heading for the next town. And so you are like chasing it down, dodging like buildings falling on top of you as you slowly rip this train apart. There's like that whole segment where you're like on top of the train and the guys like in the car are like shooting up at you through the ceiling and you're dodging bullets. Like, it's so cool. They just let Peach be so cool in this game.
There's a lot of visual spectacle on this one that I really appreciated.
Yeah, like the finale to that second one, like where like you rip off the wheel and it's like it's like slowing down, but it's still there, and then you just like grab the chimney and like flip the train and like skate under it as it crashes down in like slow motion. I'm like, this was so hype.
I seem to recall, I think the cowgirl was like the second one that we did. So like we started off with the sword fighter, and I was getting the sense of like, okay, this is what the game is gonna be, and like I'm setting my expectations accordingly. And like we were still having fun and a good time, but I was like, all right, this is the game. And then when we did that first cowgirl level, I was like, oh, never mind. Like this, this game is going places.
Yeah. And then, you know, you get to act 3 and you get to play with the trolley problem.
If you have to choose between the train running this person over or not running any people over, which will you choose?
The fact too, because like I love how the Sparkla, you know, gets this like they ride the horse and they get the stagecoaches that you do all of the lassoing on. And then you have to Yoshi the Sparkla in order to progress. Dude, like, my stomach dropped the first time that happened.
Yeah.
Because I was like, no! And then they showed up later. And, like, that's the thing, too, about the Act 3 is how, like, it takes place in that, like, void dimension.
Yeah.
And, like, I think it happens where, like, there's a second segment where you abandon them. And then you can see them riding on the tracks in the background. And I'm like, this is so cool. Yeah, I love the cowgirl levels. They're so much fun.
It's good stuff, and definitely this is like one of the ones where the music really sells the action, just amplifies it.
But that's all I had to say about the cowgirl.
Yeah, it's time for the patisserie.
Yep.
This I had to like look up the pronunciation of this word because I was just like, what the heck? Like, why couldn't they just say chef, like baker, something?
The Great British Bake Off.
they had to be particular about patisserie. And I'm like, okay.
I mean that makes sense. That is the word for it.
Right.
As you know, you are a pastry chef.
Yeah. It's this one is strange, but I'd say very welcome.
Yeah, it feels like a Mario Party minigame.
It does.
like you could play these minigames in a Mario Party game, and I would fully believe that was like intentional.
Yeah, I think, and there's not even too much that you'd have to simplify to get them functional with 4 players. It's
literally Act 3. You are like, it starts with you in a baking competition as you're just trying to finish your cake faster.
The mini games are a little hard to get a grasp on. One of the things that I was praising this game for is its, visual design, and you can read everything very easily. This is the one exception to that. Where, like, it's not exactly intuitive. I found myself needing to redo these levels the most out of any of them, just because,
especially because you're on a time limit.
Yeah,
and if you botch the time limit, then you just miss out the sparkle gems and you move on. And so it's like, ugh.
There's a lot that they're asking you to do on a time limit perfectly, and if you don't, then you just miss out. So these ones were tricky. I'm not going to say they're bad, because once you figure out what you're supposed to do, they're fun.
Yeah.
But they're definitely trickier than the other ones, because, and not like trickier in like a, oh yeah, they upped the difficulty to make this more of a fun challenge. It's just hard to read, which is not my ideal difficulty. But once you get there, then it's fun. Everything, again, it's just a visual delight to see these really like complex, like cakes and pastries and whatever getting made.
Yeah, I will say I much prefer Act 2 and 3 to Act 1. Because Act 1 is just kind of like, let's bake sweets. And I was like, cool. Where are we going to go from here? And then, like, Act 2, it's like, oh, hey, it's Halloween. And, like, here are, like, zombie trick-or-treaters that are, like, obsessed with, like, eating candy. This is the one when they, like, they gave out the candy that possessed them. And you shouted, like, they're laced with fentanyl! Save the children!
Yeah.
That freaking killed me, dude.
It's such a silly premise for a level. And the music, when all the kids go into their zombie mode, like, it goes weirdly hard.
Yup.
Like, it's really, like, bassy, and there's, like, a guitar in the background and everything, and it's just so, like, oh no,
this is, like, unsettling.
We gotta get these kids their candy or we're gonna die.
Yeah, and, like, you do the thing where you bake the cookies, and they're over there, like, behind, like, it's not construction tape, but like the barricade, and they're like trying to break the barricade down as you're like trying to bake.
It's so funny because it's so like this one more than anything is something that I feel like parents would watch their kids play this game and be like, "Oh my goodness, how true that is!" The ravenous kids trick-or-treating at Halloween.
I can't get over the Act 3 where, like, you fight the dark chef.
Yeah.
Like, we were making the joke, like, I fill my cookies with darkness.
Yeah. Your cookies are made with love, mine is made with darkness.
And, like,
it's
there's
good.
that bit, like, right when you beat the level, because you outbake him, and he's like, it's like, as if you could bake anything that tastes better than me. And it's like, well, why don't you and like, you bake a cookie and give it to him, and he eats it, and then he just freaking dies. Like, it's so good he just dies.
It's ridiculous.
It's so...
But...
Like, it's the good kind of stupid.
It is. It's so, like, unabashedly silly. And I appreciate that so much. Another detail about this, specifically like the cookies that you bake, the shapes of the cookies are a reference to the NES game Yoshi's Cookie.
And
And
I thought they looked familiar.
all of the, because the way that one works, it's like a puzzle, like match 3 type. Well, maybe it's not match 3, it's like match 5 or something, but it's, lining up like the similar shapes and colored cookies to get a score or whatever. But like all the designs of the cookies in this game are taken straight from the ones in that game, which, because I was thinking that too. I was looking at it, I'm like, these look familiar. Is this from something?
And the answer is yes.
and the answer is indeed yes. So that's a good mode. Mm-hmm. It's one it took me time to get used to, but once I did, it really grew on me.
Mm-hmm. But from there, next up, we've got the Dashing Thief.
I really like this one.
Yeah, I know you made a different comparison, but like everyone and their dog is like Persona 5.
Yeah, it's
Phantom Thieves.
Here's the thing, Persona 5 fits all of the cliches of the Dashing Thief.
Of the Phantom Thieves, the Dashing Thief. And I just make the joke that I was like, oh, so does that mean that Stella is Peach's Persona?
Persona! It's so good. Because this is maybe like one of the best examples of what I'm talking about, where like something becomes a cliche because it's so good. This is one of the most charming things presentation-wise. Like, Peach's outfit looks like super sleek and cool, and you're just listening to really catchy, jazzy, like, spy music while you're infiltrating a base to like steal back the thing that was stolen. And there's just so much charm, and even like in terms of the gameplay, it feels like they present you with like more challenging stuff in these ones. Mm-hmm. Like, if not the most difficult, like, it's stuff that requires, a decent amount of thought. Like, you look at the little grapple points and you think, like, okay, where can I get to if I swing from here?
Yeah.
Or, like, how do I open this door to get into this area?
Well, and I forget if it was Act 1 or Act 2, but, like, because you missed Mr. Hat. Like,
yeah.
You missed the secret ribbon. And so you're like, I gotta redo the level. And so, like, you went in and speed ran this level. Yeah. And it was so much fun. Because it's like, I'm gonna get the jewels back in the fastest amount of time possible. And, like, absolute, like, it was wild watching you just zip through this level.
Because that was the thing. A lot of it is, like, you look at your environment and you have to figure out where to go. I already knew where to go because I beat the level the first time, so I was just like, rush through, do everything, like, before the characters can even finish their dialogue, I'm already out the door, like...
Blitz this level, and it was, like, that was so much fun, watching you do that.
It was chaos in the best way.
Mm-hmm. It was like watching a professional thief, like, steal something... Because, like, they already knew where everything was, and so they're like, yep, nope, now I just need to be right here, now I need to do this, and I'm already out. See ya. Like, it felt very, like, calculated.
It was like Ocean's 11 if everything did go according to plan.
Basically.
And you'd be like, wow, what a boring movie. They just laid out the whole plan, and then it happened exactly as planned. So we just watched the same thing twice. No, it was great. I like the stolen statue chapter as well.
Uh-huh.
With, like, you just see it constantly, like, moving. There's the little guy hanging on.
It's like, I'm not letting go, it's mine.
And you're just, like, trying to catch up as, like, like, setback after setback keeps getting in your way.
Mm-hmm.
It's
good stuff. Grappling hook across the airplanes and then, like, break through the glass on the blimp.
Mm-hmm.
Which is... That is one of the coolest set pieces in there.
Yep. My Detective Conan enjoying Kaito Kid fanboying self was very pleased to see this level.
We had that one night where Sakura was with us, and you're like, "Hang on, I gotta show you this level."
Yeah, like we had finished all of the Dashing Thief levels, and I was just like, "Hey, you like Kaito Kid? Check this out."
Yo, check this out.
It was good.
It was really good. That was a lot of fun.
This is definitely like one of the most impressive out of this game, in my opinion.
You like Mario and Sonic at the Winter Olympics?
Yes, I like playing as Wario.
Figure skater Wario. Oh, it's a cursed mental image. No.
Do you remember the gymnastics ones, like the ribbon dancing and whatever?
Yes.
Playing as Bowser and Eggman. That's good. Anyways, figure skating. Oh man, these levels are so pretty.
Yeah, this is the thing too. I was prepared, like my first playthrough. I was like, okay, figure skater, like this isn't ninja or cowgirl or something. Like it's gonna be me doing an ice skating show, whatever.
This is boring, icky girl stuff.
Well, not like boring, icky girl stuff. Right. But I was like, okay, it's gonna be a very cutesy like figure skating, and like this one had a really fun narrative. And, like, really fun gameplay, and the music. The like you mentioned it before, but like when you first become the figure skater and like that theme kicks in, and I'm like, dang, this is good. Like that guitar goes so hard.
That's the thing. Like when people do like snow winter levels of any sort, their first go-to is typically like sleigh bells for the music. And they're like, oh, give it that Christmassy vibe. I'm like, I'm telling y'all, this is the secret sauce to make your ice level super awesome is a jazz guitar. Like it fits so well, and it gives it a higher energy, so you don't feel like you're slogging through this dreadful cold. You're like having fun.
Like, this is another one where the animations were like, if like, depending on like how you move the control stick, if you like turn, like if you sharp turn backwards, instead of just turning and facing that direction, Peach starts like skating backwards and like looks behind her. Or like if you stop, rather than just like stopping moving, she'll like lightly slow down and kind of like do this like little like sway as she like moves forward.
And there's lots of good, you can see her like shifting her weight while she's moving and everything in all these ways. The animation is extremely great here because it's so fluid. It's not like you're doing one thing and then you push a button and you like snap jarringly into a different animation. Like everything flows, which is as you would expect it to be with figure skating. You would expect fluidity. Everything looks great, and everything looks very natural for figure skating in a way that just makes it super fun, because it feels like you're watching real figure skating, even though it's cartoony antics.
And a villain showing up and stealing the show. I love the figure skating villain.
Yes.
I kind of wish he was only in the first act. Like, and they used like a different villain for each act.
Yeah, I can see that. But he's
like, I love him. I love him so much.
He's so wonderfully flamboyant.
Yes.
And I love that, like, there's that boss theme they have for a couple of bosses where it's like the Spanish guitar.
Yeah, because it's in the Wild West.
I was expecting that, like, I was expecting Spanish guitar in something like a Wild West setting, and I'm like, oh, this works here. The fact that they also used it for the figure skating thing, and for this guy, it suits him incredibly well, and I love it.
Unbelievably. No, like, when you beat him, and, like, you and the whole squad circle around him, and then pose on him, and he just dies. It's so beautiful! And then just, like, evaporates into nothing.
It's good. I like that your rival figure skater also is a male figure skater, because it's an art that's mostly looked at as a feminine thing, which is funny because the history of figure skating, it started out as a male dominated sport.
Interesting.
But
I didn't know that.
A pointless anecdote that I want to share in regards to this. When I was in elementary school, there was a school assembly for it was mostly like a ballet thing. There was some like figure skaters there as well, and like general, like, you know, athletics performance type stuff. But I remember, like, this is the thing, like, and I was definitely guilty of this as a young boy who was, you know, socialized to only like boy activities. Like, all the boys went into this thinking like, oh, this is girl stuff. And, like, specifically there was a man there who came and pointed out, he's like, now a lot of the boys are gonna be like, oh, this is girl stuff. He's like, but have you ever met a man that can do this? And he, like, jumped in the air and did this insane, like triple, like, not even triple, it was like 4 spins in the air. Like, it was just this insanely quick, fluid movement, and all of the boys were instantly like, oh!
This dude's cool.
And immediately, like, the art had my instant respect, because I was thinking about, like, any other sort of form of, like, things that require athletic ability. And I was just thinking, like, man, if you did, like, ballet and figure skating and all this crud on top of all that other stuff, you would be so flexible and agile. Like,
yeah.
We need to sort of part from this stereotype that, like, this kind of stuff is just for girls, because it's just impressive physical prowess no matter who's doing it.
Oh, yeah. Kind of in that same vein, my wife and I actually went and we watched... Neither of us had ever seen a ballet. Mm-hmm. We went to, I think it's called Ballet West. They did a production of Dracula. Mm-hmm. Holy crap, that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Yeah. That's also if anyone wants to say, like, oh, I bet the... I bet that, like, that guy was, like, a twink or whatever. No, he was, like, buff. This is a big, muscular man.
Yep.
That was showing off his ballet prowess, and I'm like,
oh, yeah.
A+, dude.
But, yeah, no, like, figure skating, and, like, Act 3 was really fun, because, like, how, like, you get the sparkler, and all of your moveset is the same, but you have a second person there with you, and so you get to, like, work together. Like, you incorporate her into your spins. She sets up the spots for you to get your jumps in, and there's, like, that segment right at the end where, like, you have the 3 jumps.
Yeah.
Off of the, like, the falling platforms as, like, the ice caves are collapsing on you. Like, this was cool. Like, I severely underestimated this level.
Yeah. I mean, I like, for as much as I have an appreciation for the arts, I didn't think they were going to go as hard as they did with this one.
Yes.
Even, like, Peach's outfit for the figure skating stuff, like, this is one of my favorites of
yes,
hers.
It's
like,
so good.
It's so looks good. So dang good here. It's an unexpected A+.
Yep.
Oh, and you know what else is great? Before you make the transformation in the first level, the fact that, like, Peach has her little animation of, like, slipping on the ice and being like, whoa!
Yup.
It's really good.
It's really good.
Next, we move on to the detective, and I wasn't just gonna save my fan spamming over Detective Conan stuff on the first,
Yeah.
with the dashing thief. Like, I like detective stuff too.
Listen. You heard me in Danganronpa. I love a good mystery.
Mm-hmm. It's the fact that Peach, like, on the victory screen says "case closed." I was just like,
Yeah.
you knew what you were doing, and I love you for it.
You literally, all she, like, it was one step away from her just being like, one truth prevails.
Yeah. Seriously. Can I say something a little bit astonishing and upsetting?
What?
I think this was my least favorite of all the game modes.
This is the thing for me, like, I'm mixed on this one.
Right, and I will say the reason that I think it's my least favorite is because it relies more on dialogue than gameplay.
Yes.
And all of the other ones have, like, such great gameplay that it's kind of like, oh, we're just, like, talking to people and then finding the anomaly to point out. But it's not like we're doing all this fast-paced, frantic stuff. So that's the only reason that I would say categorically it's my least favorite. But I still like it. So even the lowest point of this game is still really good. So
this is the thing for me. I'm very mixed because I think first and foremost, this is one of Peach's best looks in the game. Like, I love the detective look. She looks so good in this outfit. You know, like, she's got, like, the obvious the Sherlock Holmes hat, the jacket, the shorts, and the tights, like, look really good together. But, like, gameplay wise, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's one of the weakest. For me, I think one of the reasons is, like, you're right, it does rely on dialogue. And once you've beaten the level, once you've solved the mystery, that is all there is of the gameplay.
Yeah.
You already know the mystery. You already know who to talk to and what to point out. And so, like, there's not a lot of gameplay left.
And it's
at least
actually
in the first one.
Arguably, this is, like, adding to what you're saying, that there's not as much gameplay. I do like that you can solve the case without finding any of the clues.
Yes.
You can literally just go straight to the major objective and be like, this is the thing, and then everyone's like, whoa,
how did you solve that?
Exactly.
You're like, time travel.
and you know why that's so important to me? This is what I've written in my notes as take that, Phoenix Wright.
Yeah.
Because too often in Phoenix Wright, you notice a piece of evidence and, like, exactly how it contradicts their testimony and all this stuff, but you just can't get to the point where you present that specific evidence because the game wants you to present something else first and get a natural
You need to
flow.
follow the protagonist's logic and lead it there.
You need
rather than just use your own logic.
Right. Rather than jump straight to the incriminating evidence. So that way there's and I get that it's because there's a narrative flow, but, like, it's so funny just jumping straight to, like, the stolen painting is right here with, like, no build up.
It's so good. I will say Act 2 is great.
That is the main thing that I want to point out. The ending of Act 2 was so funny.
Just you shouted, you're like, there's a bomb in the lasagna.
I can't help but reference that. It just makes me giggle.
It's so funny. Dude, that's the thing about, like, the detective. I think some of our, like, funniest conversations happened during the detective stuff.
Because there was less going on with the gameplay, so our brains were a bit more open to getting out there and getting weirder ideas.
Because we were making, like, Blue's Clues jokes. Yeah. The Jimmy Neutron brain blast when you point out, like, your strike of intuition. We had our whole, like, topic, like, we were talking about, like, yo, I would actually watch a series about, like, Max and Goofy as a detective, like, a detective duo. And I was like, what the heck?
I would love that if we just got our, like, Goof Troop detectives.
Yup. And like we were debating, like, okay, wait, would this be young Max or older Max? I'm like, there are pros and cons to both of these.
I have to say, though, now that I bring it up, I've never seen Goof Troop. So that, like, there's probably an episode of Goof Troop that's literally that.
Just that.
Somebody come quick! Loyal! Thanks, pal.
Yeah. But this one was fun. The mysteries were, like, again, first time were interesting enough.
Yeah. There is, you know what I love about level 3? You get the, like, a family-friendly version of the which one do I shoot scenario.
That's right.
With, like, the Detective Sparkla and the junior detective assistant. And you're like, which one's, like, the real person and which one's just a bad guy in disguise? Mm-hmm. That also is very pleasant.
It's so funny. Oh, man. Yeah, so it's one of those... I love the tower climb in Act 2. Like, Act 2 is the strongest of all of the detective acts.
Definitely.
Just because the bomb is so funny.
The bomb at the end, where they're like... The junior detective, like, goes to throw it out the window, and he trips and falls on his face, and Peach picks it up. And you can see, like, the little, like, countdown, like, at the last second she throws it out the window.
Well, like, the power of that explosion is like, oh, this was a threat. I didn't realize it was a threat, but it is a threat.
It's literally a bomb meant to take down a clock tower.
Yup. And it's so funny that the answer is, let's throw it in the river over there.
Yeah.
You might... I will leave it up to you if you decide to edit this out, but in Alfarad's video, he literally made the joke that's like, we're gonna go prevent 9/11.
No, it's fine. That can go in. But that's silly.
It's so... It's ludicrous.
That's very on brand for Alpharad.
Oh, it very much is. It's just funny how much, like, from Act 1 to Act 2, things escalate. From, like, oh, a stolen painting. And then, like, the twist is, oh, it was here the whole time. To, like,
a literal
there's
bomb
threat, and you were, like, working with the police to catch the fiends and, like, find out where the bomb is.
It's silly.
It's so funny how much it escalates in Act 2. Oh, there's also that whole segment where you're tailing the guy, where you have, like, the newspaper, and, like, you're, like, hiding from stuff, and then there's, like, that whole segment where, like, the dude's like, well, time to close up shop, and he, like, moves the sign that you're hiding behind.
Yeah. So funny. That is
just like, you can't do that!
Act 2 really embodies the roses are red, cacti are prickly, holy smokes, that escalated quickly.
Yup.
Oh, man. Well, do you want to move on to our next one?
Pretty fishy, that's me.
Pretty fishy. It's the mermaid.
It's the mermaid. I remember we said that and I was dying.
I'm a pretty fish. This one, I would say, like, the mermaid one is just very pleasant. It's very calm. You're not, like, having to react to things too quickly, except maybe in, like, the musical sections at the end, but also it's, like, the only thing you're really doing is just concentrating on the bubble around Peach and hitting all the notes and whatever. So it's, like, there's something about this one that feels very mellow, and I like that it's kind of just chill.
Yeah, this is another one. This is when I was referring to Samantha Kelly's amazing voice acting. I found out Google searching she did do the vocals.
Oh, for, like, the singing. Oh, that's cool.
Which is really, and once again, giving her that range to actually do that is super cool.
Another one, if you want to talk about underappreciated arts, the darn kids these days just don't understand. Like opera, is another one of those like long time things that like I really like, and so I like that. Again, it's unabashedly influenced by Little Mermaid. Like,
Yes.
it's the fact that the whole objective of the game is that you're a singing mermaid. It's like, okay, this is definitely Little Mermaid inspired. But I do like that it's operatic music, and especially the fact that it's in sync with the background music, like how the music is just going, and then you push the button to sing, and immediately like where she's singing matches up with the music and everything. It's a nice touch.
Especially Act 3 is so cool because like Act 3 has the same track for everything. For all of the Rescue the Sparklas, how it like has that like very distorted, creepy sounding music.
Yeah.
But then for this one, she has the vocals that match that song. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, oh, that's just really cool.
Yeah, there's something really fun about just, like guiding like a small school of fish.
Yeah,
and like getting them to do stuff. It's another one of those ones. It didn't immediately click with me that you like hold up against like the clamshells and then the fish like push the clams open.
Yeah, you direct the fish in the background.
Yeah, as soon as I got that, like that's what you do. The clams are essentially treasure chest, and you use the fish to open them. Like, I really learned to appreciate this gameplay style.
Yeah, I'm also just laughing at that bit where like there was the giant eel that you were moving. You're just like, oh, that's a moray.
That's a moray.
It was so dumb, but it cracked me up so much.
It's one of the classic puns.
It's a good pun. It made me smile.
It's very.
I also
funny.
liked how in Act 2, like you get to go into the ghost ship.
Yeah, that was neat.
Like again, it was like, oh, okay, Act 1, we're the mermaid, we're gonna go sing, and then it's like Act 2 is like, okay, we're still doing that, but now there's a ghost ship involved, and I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah, you would think the environments would stay samey in an underwater setting, but I like how it's at the beginning of the first one, you're like at the seashore, like at a beach, and everything's tropical.
And they have everything divided. Like you're playing up on the top, and then there's all the people below you in the water.
And then when you get to the underwater, it's kind of like serene and beautiful. There's like coral reefs and things. But then during the second one, like it doesn't get samey because you get it like at night.
Yep.
And you get all of the like the darker atmosphere, the sunken pirate ship and what have you. Like there's all of that, and then how level 3 is like a big raging tempest. It showcases like the good variety that underwater areas can have.
Yep, it's good stuff.
Oh, and especially since this is the role for Peach that's the most focused on singing, I like that she sings the victory jingle at the end alongside the music.
That's really cool.
It's a really nice touch.
Yeah, like there's a lot of just little details in here that are just fun.
Also, the turtles remind me of Sonic Adventure 2.
Yep.
Because I can't just look at a turtle and go, oh, that's a turtle. I have to be like, oh, that's like the turtle from Sonic Adventure 2.
Pulled it right from my brain and just said it.
Yeah.
So the next one is Mighty Peach.
Yeah. Mighty Peach.
This was such a cool idea.
There's some great visuals on this one.
Yeah. Well, this was a fun combo because, like, literally it's just, superhero. Which is, in and of itself, a pretty generic genre. Like, superhero could be anything, but they decided to combine it with, like, space.
Yeah.
And like, invading aliens and stuff.
You're fighting aliens through the levels and all that.
Because like Act 1 is the aliens invading your planet, and so you take the fight to them. In Act 2, which is super cool. And like Peach feels so cool in this one. You pointed it out multiple times, but her run animation.
Yeah, she has like the really confident, like swinging, like chopping arms as she runs. It's a good run cycle. I like one thing that like really helps both with the theme of the level, but also like builds up Peach as a character. I like that you're helping the civilians that are in danger before you even like change into your outfit and start, being the superhero. There's little moments like the burning pillar that blocks the path, and so you activate like the fountain and it sprays the water and puts out the fire.
Yeah, like this one's just fun because you feel like a hero. You're always like protecting the scientists and everyone around you, and like a lot of the sparkle gems are based on like, okay, everyone has to make it to the end safely.
Yeah.
And I love that because it's like, okay, I'm the protector. I'm the strong one. I have to go be strong. And like, there's just so many fun like segments where Peach just gets to be cool and strong. Where like she grabs things like 3 times her size and like yeets them. And you get a big kaiju battle with a UFO.
The kaiju battle was so good.
I think my favorite segment of Mighty Peach though was in Act 3 when the meteors are coming and you team up with the Sparkla and just like punch through the meteors. Like it's so cool. They just I keep saying it, they just let Peach be cool in this game.
I think for me, what I most enjoyed were any of like the segments where you're flying.
Yep. The flying segments were so
those
good.
Ones were always good. They give you like a bunch of enemies to fight through, and like you punch into one of them and knock them back into the other enemies, which is really cool. Or as you mentioned, the thing with the meteors and throwing the Sparkla into the meteors to destroy them. It's good stuff. This is also where that thing that you commented on earlier, you can tell the difference between the real fire and like the fake prop fire for the play.
The prop fire. Yeah, just I remember for some reason like you're like, all right, what are my powers? And you get like the dash and you're just like Princess Punch. And I was like, I need a Smash mod of like this Peach, but with Captain Falcon's moveset.
Yeah, I want an entire game of Smash Bros. Where you only play as the different versions of Peach.
Versions of Peach, yes.
Super Smash Princesses.
Super Bashing Sisters.
Oh, man. That second stage in particular, I think, was like a really solid one.
Yup. I love too, like that how it like opens with you flying to the enemy planet. It's cool.
Lots of good sci-fi stuff.
Yep, good sci-fi, good fun. Space. Oh, this is also the one too. Because like all of Peach's outfits have her little like blue pendant thing on her dress, like incorporated somewhere. And I love how like for this one, the way that they did it was it's because her power, like when she like does the punch, like her gauntlets like open up to be the shape of it, and they give off the blue electricity. I just think that's really cool.
It's a very cool detail.
Because I was sitting there like looking for it. I was like, where is it? It's not anywhere in her design. And then it's like, oh, that's because it's right here. It's her superpower.
It's a lot more subtle than the other ones, but it's cool.
It's super cool. I love it. I love it.
We get to follow up that really cool gameplay style with another really cool gameplay style.
Yup.
Kung Fu Peach.
Kung Fu Peach Panda. That was the pun that my brain was like, don't say this.
It's not funny. Don't do that. No one will be proud of you.
No one will be proud of you. It's not like they're proud of Peach. Gosh, I love the Kung Fu, though.
Okay, this one is good.
Yeah.
This, as you heard me say like 7 times while we were playing, this feels like the most realized gameplay style of them all. The way that like all of your kicking attacks and like knocking the enemies into each other works.
I was gonna comment on that because, like, you know, fundamentally it's similar to the sword fighter. And like you just run up and just hit waves of enemies. But whereas the sword fighter just kind of cuts through them, you can kind of go bowling with like the enemies here and like knock them into each other and like combo them, and so it's like an extra layer of fun. It's so cool. And then just, I don't know.
Well, and I think unlike the sword fighter thing too, there's a few more things to interact with, because you have like the totem poles that you hop across. You can do like your air kicks to like knock enemies away and everything, and then you have like the poles to swing on and do like the spinning kicks.
Yup.
And they will give you just crowds, seas of enemies surrounding the pole, and you just spin kick them all, and it's
so satisfying. Well, and also like, because there's also a bunch of like destructible environment that like you can kick enemies into, and so it gives it even more impact.
Right. And the fact that like you can't just fight willy-nilly in some areas, because there's like the area where you can like knock enemies into the pillars that are holding up like rooftops where like secrets and like sparkle gems are. And so if you just destroy everything willy-nilly, then you miss out on stuff. Whereas like if you fight carefully and mindfully of your surroundings, then you can go
like
back
an
around.
Actual kung fu master.
Exactly. Exactly. It's so good. The music too. This is definitely one of the areas where they went big with the soundtrack.
Yeah. And just Peach just looks good.
Yeah.
Like, the eyeshadow does so much for the look.
It's true. And that traditional Chinese attire that we associate with all our favorite martial arts movies.
Kung fu martial arts movie. Look, man, I haven't seen nearly as many kung fu movies as I should, but like, I love the genre.
One that I would highly recommend is one that spits on the genre, and that's Kung Pao.
Yeah,
because that one's more of a comedy than a serious one.
Well, yeah, like I've seen Kung Fury and stuff.
Oh yeah,
like,
Kung Fury that's another one.
Kung Fury is really good.
Kung Pao is in a very similar vein to that, just bent on being as absurd as possible.
Even stuff like the Karate Kid,
right?
Like that was influential to my childhood.
That was
so like. I love Kung Fu Peach. I know I was sending you all the art before we started recording, and I sent you the one of like it's her doing like the kick, and then they have like the Street Fighter input.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, oh, I love this.
Very Chun-Li.
Also, just I love the villain of these, like how he's like the marionette, and how like. It's interesting because, like, again, I kind of wish we had a different villain for each one. But it's also cool how, like, his abilities progress, too, across the acts. Of, like, you know, you fight him, and then he learns how to, like, shoot the fireballs, and then he learns how to clone himself. And, like, I love the segment where he shoots the fireball at you, and you kick it, like, you launch it back at him.
Yeah.
Like, we made the joke, and we were like, this is just Kung Fu Panda 2!
the cannonball scene.
Look, that scene freaking rules.
It does. Kung Fu Panda 2 is, like, legit one of the best films ever made.
Yes.
Oh, man. It's good stuff. I was glad, like, I was more than okay with saving this one for last, because I was just like, it always satisfies. So I am A-okay to always end on a high note with the kung fu levels.
Yup.
Well, the last bit of gameplay that we have to cover are the boss fights that happen at the end of a set of 4 levels per floor.
I just want to draw attention because I had it in my notes from when we played when you made the joke.
Mm-hmm.
But just you made the joke about the boss door opening, and it's that clip from SpongeBob of Tom Kenny in the shower.
Yeah. I need that.
I know. Sorry. Like as soon as we got the bosses, I was like, "Oh yeah, that was a thing that we joked about."
That sure was. It would take me a lot of time to like key out the inside of the door myself and put that in, but if nobody gets around to making that, eventually I will one day.
Oh man. But yeah, this game has bosses too.
It sure does. And I like how this is a way they utilize the standard Peach gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't fight any of these major floor bosses with any of like the powers you get throughout the game. You just use Stella.
Mm-hmm.
Which, side comment about this, I should have commented about this at the beginning of gameplay, but I'd forgotten to mention this. The fact that Nintendo continues to do what they do best, and it's when they want to explain a new gameplay concept to somebody, they always do it in the form of a new character that accompanies the protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in the case of something like Legend of Zelda, how do we explain Z-targeting to players? You have this little fairy character that goes to the thing you're targeting. How do we explain, like, spraying water as a new concept in Mario Sunshine? We give you Flood, who's a little robot friend that'll talk to you while you do all your adventuring. Like, Nintendo is so in the habit of creating a character to explain a new gameplay concept, and I like that Peach gets that in the form of Stella.
Mm-hmm. Also, I just like Stella.
Yeah.
Like, Stella could have been a very obnoxious character, but no, like, she was a very fun part of the adventure to have, and I think one of the things that made her so likable was that you got to customize Stella as much as you got to customize Peach with, like, the outfits. I love that you got ribbons for Stella. That was a really neat feature.
The game did a good job of making her feel like an equal partner.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so...
Yeah, so with the boss fights, our very first one...
The power of Darkle.
The power of Darkle.
Like Blargle.
That
got him.
I wonder what he's doing now.
We start off with Disco Wing. I remember you did this fight, and then you were like, "This is a Klonoa boss fight."
A lot of these bosses made me think of different things. But yeah, it's the fact that they leave behind like a thing that you use to hit them back with.
Yeah. But also, I like that the Disco Wing has like the invert gravity ability. You know, I've played enough Sonic games that like I see that, it just makes me smile.
Yeah, it's hilarious how similar it is to the what's it called? The Death Egg boss in Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah.
But it's Disco Wing is it's a very odd character.
Yup.
But I guess what they were going for with the kids game is like we didn't want to put anything too spooky in the first bits of the game where like little kids would be playing through. Like just make kind of a quirky bird disco ball afro thing.
Yup. Two things that came out of because we said them about this boss fight, but then it carried over to all of them.
Mm-hmm.
The first was like because I like when you do the you fill that they're as stupid as it is Darkle.
Yeah.
their darkness.
It's a
you
dark
fill it with
sparkle.
the power of Sparkle.
Yeah.
You feel, and then like you made the, I think it's, what is it, Devil May Cry.
I'll be the one to fill your dark soul with light.
Like, you said that and I started like losing it because I was like, oh my goodness, because you said it as a joke and I'm like, we're gonna do this for the rest of the game now.
Yeah, and it's what I was thinking about as we were doing it.
But the other one that was funny was because after you beat the boss, you get a dress inspired by them, and we made the joke that's like, I skinned the boss and made this dress.
Yeah.
Which was so dumb, but so funny.
Yeah, I will say, to comment on this boss specifically, it does a thing that's many like 3D and like sometimes even like 2.5D platformers do, but it's a boss fight that kind of like stalls a bit. It's got very slow animations and like you're waiting on the boss to get into a position where you can hit it.
To do a specific move.
I'm not the biggest fan of fights like this. I prefer when it's, you know, an action game and you can just use an attack and like run up to the enemy and attack them whenever.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it's a it's going for a simple type of gameplay style, and there's only so much you can do with like Peach pretty much only having the jump and the one ability.
Mm-hmm. They utilize the simple gameplay style, and so they they do it.
I think maybe like the stalling and the slow animations only really gets to you when you're trying to do like the post game stuff. And
you got to do the no hit run.
Yeah, and if you like mess a thing up, you have to start over.
Mm-hmm.
And so like there is a bit of just waiting on things to happen.
Yeah.
But you know what? Disco Wing has some pretty funny sounding screams. So yes. So there's that. There's that going for her.
They're a funny character that it's like, I can just see like Grape being like looking at Disco Wing and being like, yeah, you are definitely the first boss.
Grape is like, I'm almost considering just like giving Peach access to the second floor. Because like, look at you. What an underling.
It's so what an underling. Then on the second floor, we got good old Light Fang.
Light Fang. My only complaint with Light Fang is that it looks pretty generic. It's just kind of...
My only complaint about Light Fang is that its dress is ugly.
That's not Light Fang specifically. That's the reward for beating Light Fang. But,
I know.
But definitely...
Could have had a better color palette.
What was my opening joke for this episode?
I know. I know. We joked... The funniest thing was, like, I told you immediately. I was like, this is the ugliest dress in the game. And you're like, cool, I'm going to wear it for the next, like, 2 or 3 levels. And I was like, I hate you.
I got a sass.
Yep. But I will say, like, Light Fang, their ability is cool, like the way they rewind time. You know, they pull a JoJo's Zawarudo. But also, I like that this one is a platforming challenge.
Yeah, in terms of like, gameplay, I think the fight is very fun.
Because like, you know, you're like climbing up the tower, dodging like their vision, which is the spot, like, you know, the lights. Otherwise, you rewind and you have to do it over. And like, it's cool.
Yeah, this one, like, even though, like, again, getting caught in the loop of like having to get through stuff and wait on things and like replay the boss fight a couple of times, this is the one I enjoyed the most because you just like wait for, like, while it's using the searchlights to try and catch you, you just wait for an opening and then you just go.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that. Platforming while avoiding getting caught is...
As well as, there's like segments, because there's a bit of startup to their rewind.
Yeah.
And so there's like that segment, I think it's like one of the last hits, where like, you are going to get spotted and it starts to power up its move, but you can get to the thing you have to break in order to damage it. Like, before it triggers, and like that little rush right at the end is... Oh, it's good.
It's good. I like also the fact that there's like a little noise alert thing. Whenever you get behind a pillar, there's like a little wave indicating like, oh hey, Peach is here, and you see this you see Light Fang like course correct, like, oh, she's over here and stuff. So it gives you the sense that like you're on the move, but you're also like trying to stay hidden, and you're like making little noises, and you're like, oh no, don't find me.
Yep.
It's good.
From there, I'm sorry for what I'm about to say. The boss with the most personality.
Oh,
the
man.
Projector cat.
Let the cat out of the bag on that one.
Yeah. This is the interesting thing, because like Light Fang had like no personality.
Zero.
But like the boss fight was fun.
Mm-hmm. Are you
the Projector cat?
Are you gonna say that he's the opposite?
Yes. Because he had so much personality.
I love the way he is animated. He is so like twitchy and fast and silly.
Mm-hmm.
But then,
like,
yeah, you get to the fight, and like the fight is fine to get through the first time, but those bonus challenges are ridiculous and just made me hate this fight.
Yeah, I just remember it's kind of like a nothing of a fight, because like you just line up his bomb so that he hits himself, and that's it. You just keep his paws away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't know.
It's pretty plain like when you're just going through, but it's the fact that they're like it's not even like don't take damage, but it's like don't let his paws or tail touch you. And like there are moments where like they don't even do damage, but you just bump into the paws. Sometimes you're like jumping over to hit them with the ribbon so they go away. And while you're hitting them with the ribbon, you bump into them. And you have to do the entire fight over from the start. And again, it's waiting on animations so you can get your window of opportunity to land a hit. It's like, oh.
Yeah, which it sucks too, because like he has such a fun introduction.
He does.
Like how like Peach and Stella are walking in, and you just see him creeping in the background. Like, I was like, oh, this dude rules. I like him.
And in like almost like there's just like a split second of him like jumping, like kind of moving behind it, like and then he goes back into the background. Like. It's good. Like I said, I love the way he's animated. Visually, this is like my favorite thing ever from this game. But like, man, gameplay-wise, it upset me.
Yep.
I was even thinking like this is the kind of thing like I probably would have been afraid of him as a kid. Like when I was like really little, I'm like, this probably would have scared me. It's like
he's got that big Cheshire Cat grin, but he's also like the projector. So like.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, man.
Well, and the fact that, like, because of the projector, the way that, like, his eyes go, that it's, like, all dark with just the little green dots.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that... Thinking about the kinds of things that scared me when I was super, super little, like, this probably would have scared me as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, I do, I forgot about this, but visually, I really do like the attack where there's, like, again, like the projected lights with the big paws that like swing down and slam into the ground. I like how that attack looks. It looks really nice.
Yep.
But anyway, enough about him.
But the boss after him. Let's talk about the next one. The Spot Lion.
Spot Lion. That was so.
I love his design.
It's a really good, it's a really clever concept.
Mm-hmm.
You could see something like this existing in Pokemon.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
absolutely.
It's that, like, old Pokemon formula of, like, take an animal, give it a fantastical feature, and then, like, you get a result from it by combining the two things. And so it's literally like a stage spotlight that is used as the main for the lion.
Mm-hmm.
It's neat.
Yeah, it's neat. And, like, I like his boss fight a lot. Because, like, look, it's Ganondorf light bouncing puzzles, but, like, the way he changes the environment to be mirrors, and so you gotta geometry that.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I love his crazy laser attack.
Yeah.
Like, the one where it, like, bounces up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, like, barely, like, there's, like, this tiny little corner that you can hide in right under him that it doesn't reach you, and it's just like, dang.
Yeah. It's it's a shame that once again I've got to bring up this complaint again. It's a boss fight with lots of slow wind-up animations, and you're waiting for him to give you the thing that you can knock back to hit him instead of just going in and doing a thing. But, like, for what it's worth, I definitely do agree that, like, using slopes to ricochet shots back at him and everything, like, it's cool. It's a really cool concept.
I also like that once he makes the mirror image of himself, you can tell which one is real because of his reflection in the background.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. Because there's two of them, and you can tell which one's real and which one's fake. He still, like, fires enough shots that you can just take them both out.
Right.
But you can tell which one is the real one and which one is the fake one, because the fake one doesn't have a reflection.
Oh, that makes sense.
And I just think that's really cool.
Okay. And I mean,
I love when games do stuff like that.
Yeah. There is also the bonus mission of, like, reflect, like, as few orbs as possible to beat the boss. And so with that one, you do actually need to be able to tell, and that would have been a nice thing to know.
I am sorry.
No, it's good. But I do like the spotlight, and I think that was a pretty clever boss fight.
But yeah, I suppose we'll put one final spoiler warning as we go into our next boss.
Yeah, we can just have you skip past this point if you have listened to what we said and the game does sound appealing to try. But with that, let's talk about our end game.
Skip here to avoid spoilers.
And for starters, our last role we get to play.
Yep.
Radiant Peach.
Oh, it's so cool. I am so glad that I did not have this spoiled for me.
Yeah, same.
Radiant Peach is so freaking cool.
Out of all of the Nintendo characters, I least expected Peach to get the supersonic treatment at the end of her game.
Yes. Dude, it's the shot, like, you know, because you watch the transformation and everything, and it's amazing. And there's that, like, brief shot where you can see the sparkle gem in her eyes, and I'm just like, oh! It gives me chills every time.
It's just really cool. It's just a really pretty outfit that makes Peach feel, like, super grand and super powerful.
Yep.
And the best part about this, what I wasn't ready for, it's a shoot 'em up.
Yep.
The gameplay style. It's a Kirby final boss.
Dude, this is the part where I realized this is just a Kirby game. Like, you wear costumes to get powers, there's a shmup section at the end. Grape looks like a Kirby villain.
It's a simpler gameplay style that's catered to be accessible for younger players. Like,
This is just a Kirby
The protagonist is pink by default. It's a Kirby game. I mean, like, that's the thing. We compared, like, everything that's in here to a lot of things because it goes for very generic things so you can have a point of reference. So I apologize for comparing this so much to other media, but with that apology, I'm going to do it again because this also feels like extremely Nights into Dreams.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Madame Grape gives me very big Knights vibes.
Mm-hmm. Even, like, all of the bosses in this game feel very much like Knights antagonists.
Yeah, that's the other thing, too. I freaking love Madame Grape. Like, I can't explain it, just, like, she's just a dramatic theater kid obsessed with making this a tragedy. Like she is just playing the villain.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Because there's the cutscene right before it. She's like, where she like turns to Peach. She's like, "I picked the perfect person to be my foil," and I'm like, "Oh my goodness!"
That is I love the gradual like gaining her respect as we go through from just like,
yes,
there's a rat in the theater to like my rival, the only one worthy to be contested against me. Like,
once I dull your sparkle, this tragedy will be complete. Like,
it is fun to have a villain like Madame Grape who is absurdly and cartoonishly evil for no reason.
You know what it is? So my wife and I have talked about this, about like villains being villains just for the sake of being the villain.
Yeah.
There is no deeper meaning than it. And like the example that my wife always points to is Maleficent in Sleeping Beauty.
Yes.
My wife is like, she's just super petty. She didn't get invited to the wedding, so she's making it everyone else's problem.
That's when, or like, what's it, Jack Horner in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Uh-huh.
It's just like, you wouldn't shoot an adorable puppy, would you? Yeah, in the face. Why?
Yeah. Like, it's fun to have a villain that is just a villain for the sake of being a villain. Like, they're like, no, I want to play the villain, so I'm going to play the villain.
Right. And again, in a game like this where it's a theater, it's a play, everything here is just for show. It kind of is, like, funny to have a really shallow villain. Mm-hmm. I know everyone's going to complain, like, oh, but, like, the stories that really change you is when, like, the villains have these really deep motivations and whatever. And it's like, yeah, sure, those are great villains that actually have, like, a lot of thought and care put into them. But, like, sometimes, especially with, like, video game storylines, just kind of, like, turn your brain off and have fun characters.
Yeah, exactly.
Characters like Madame Grape who are just loud and proud to be what they are.
Uh-huh.
Like, it's fun.
Again, she's just a theater kid.
Yeah, and that's like the funniest part is she's so needlessly dramatic.
Yes.
In exactly the right way that like fits the theater vibe.
Exactly. It's she's just fun. And like I love too that like she has like the feathers on like her gown that like are her health bar.
Yeah, as like I wasn't paying attention. I get so focused on the gameplay that I don't always notice background elements like that. I was really glad that you pointed that out to me because obviously that's useful from a gameplay standpoint. You can see how many more hits she needs to take, but also like it's a very cool in-game way of demonstrating a boss health.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, all that stuff that I was saying about other bosses where you're, like, constantly waiting for an opening, that's not what this gameplay style is like. You just weave in through, like, the crowds of enemies that she has blocking and protecting her, and you just find a weak point and fire away.
Uh-huh.
And you're just, like, dodging stuff and shooting. Like, this is a good gameplay style for a boss. I really like this.
Mm-hmm. As she sends like planes and trains to try and run you over, and like, you know, the fireworks displays like going off and stuff, dropping like presents and things on you. Like, And I love Peach and Grape because, like, you know, they're opposites. You know, she's a sweet peach. This is a sour grape.
Yeah, there's a lot of good wordplay surrounding that.
Mm-hmm. And so it's just fun, and it's fun that, like, Peach, you know, especially Radiant Peach, is like this very bright white and light, like, teal color, whereas Grape is like all of these very dark, like, very flamboyant, jazzy colors. Like,
that was also something I didn't quite piece together until, like, really giving it some thought. But the fact that the design of, like, the standard enemies in the games they just have, like, the round purple heads with, like, the masks.
Yep.
Like, they're grapes.
They're the sour bunch.
The sour bunch. There's a lot of this stuff that, like, on surface level, we're just so used to video games that we just look at stuff and be like, okay, that's a bad guy, whatever. But, like, there's some pretty smart theming to the design of the characters.
Yes. Very intentional.
The final boss also just has, like, really nice, like, spectacle to it. It's very flashy. And this is...
For someone as dramatic as Grape.
It is. Like, I love a lot of the attacks of, like, the little, like, fire, like, sparkler jets that come from underneath, and, like, the trains moving around, and, like, the falling, like, presents.
She's making a show of it. And not to mention, she gets the title drop, where she says, "It's showtime."
Yep.
And then you defeat her, and all that's left is the mask, which is...
Yeah.
It's so Kirby coded, I can't even.
Oh, it's so silly.
It's so good, though. And then, of course, you know, we get the Phase 2, which, like, Grape nukes the entire theater.
Yeah. I was not ready for that.
I know. I was like, oh, here it comes. And then, from there, we get our final boss fight.
And that is, like... We already were blown away by Radiant Peach. We're like, oh, wow, this is so cool. And then they give us Super Radiant Peach.
Yeah. This is... I love the idea that, like, Radiant Peach is the power of all the Sparklas sharing their sparkle that, like... It's such an interesting concept, the idea of sparkle, because it only would fit in a theater setting. You know, that spectacle, that, like, suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
And, you know, that, like, enamorment with, like, the acting. That Peach could be a star in a production. And so, like, that's all of the Sparklas giving it to her, makes her super radiant, or Radiant Peach. This is now everyone in the theater, and you could argue by extension the audience.
Yeah.
Pouring their power into Peach so that she can defeat the villain. She powers up from the audience. That's funny, just to go back to Alpharad's video. He made the joke that, like, in Super Princess Peach, by the end of the game, she becomes the Avatar, the master of the four elements. In Princess Peach Showtime, she just becomes Goku.
Yeah.
Which is so funny, but, like, Super Radiant Peach is so cool.
Seriously. It's amazing, too, how, like, you know, because her outfit is, like, super flowy and everything, you have a bigger model, and with that, they managed to scale it in such a way that, like, it doesn't feel like Peach is blocking your view of the camera too well. Like, you can still see, like, where you're aiming and what you're trying to do, but it also doesn't make her feel too small. And that's especially amazing compared to the fact that, like, we're fighting this huge, you know, like, mask that Madame Grape has, like, her final form and everything. Like, she is massive. And still, we don't feel, like, small and insignificant compared to her. We feel equally, like, more powerful and sizable than we had the entire game.
Yup. Grape's final form looks so cool, too. Like, the very like terrifying looking mask, but like how Peach has no fear at this point.
It is.
She gets like right up in her face. It's like, yeah, let's do this. Let's give him a show.
Congrats, Peach! You joined the league of Nintendo characters that fight against a floating head and hands villain.
I know. Oh my gosh. Do you know what this weirdly reminds me of? Is the final boss to Sonic and the Black Knight.
Oh yeah, I could see that too.
Kinda.
Definitely, like me being me, I definitely think of Andross.
Oh, absolutely. Now that you say that, I see it.
Because it's such an apt comparison, but...
Yup, I see it. This fight, okay, is this fight easy? Yes.
Sure.
But is it hype? Unbelievably so. Like, this final fight is so cool.
It's really cool.
Just the big, like, Kamehameha lasers that you just get to fire.
Mm-hmm. I love that you're just firing huge beams and everything. It's...
And, like, you can see, like, the damage building up on the mask, like, slowly cracking it and deteriorating it.
Mm-hmm.
As, like, it's also deteriorating under, like, Grape's own corruption.
And the accompanying orchestral music is very solid here, too. It's nice and, like, dramatic and majestic and very, like, Fantasia sounding.
Yup. All this... The only thing I would add to this fight is a beam clash.
And again, like, who do we know that did that? Kirby.
Like, I think that is the only thing missing from this fight, because this fight rules.
I think that's the thing. If they want to make a sequel to this game, like, Kirby is the blueprint for the perfect Princess Peach game.
I mean, really, yeah.
Yeah, but what is it?
And the finisher. The finisher.
Not yet.
Okay. I'll let you go. But
I feel like the last thing we should talk about is the finisher. But another thing I want to add: there's a particular attack that Grape has during this fight that I'm a really big fan of, and that's so like how she creates those little like vortexes that shoot out like the blasts. When there's like the big wave of them like going in a circle, and it covers up like the entire area, and you're like slowly having to like move in a circle to dodge around the blasts as they keep firing, and like the whole thing's covering her up, so you can't attack back while she's doing this. You just gotta dodge. That one was pretty exciting. Like I was a little bit nervous. Like I was just there kind of like, yeah, I'm weaving, I'm shooting, I'm having a good time, and then just that big array of like portals opening and blasts coming out. Like it's very slow, so it's still easy to dodge, but like visually it was very like, whoa.
Well, and I feel like, this was the case with Radiant Peach and also with Super Radiant Peach, is it's like, if you choose to attack, you are stationary, but you can stop at any time and then go back to moving.
Right.
And so it's kind of like this gamble of like, do I want to get the hits in or do I want to stay on the defensive?
And also, like, you can only attack, like, when you're in the middle and your shot is lined up with her. So if you're, like, too far to the side, you can avoid attacks really easily, but you can't get in there and get hits.
You can't get any hits in, and so it becomes like a balancing game.
It's good. This one surprised me. This was a very good, surprising finale to the game.
Yeah, and again, can I talk about it now? That finisher, just it was cool as heck. And again, the explosion in the shape of the sparkle gem is so good.
It's ugh.
And then also just Grape, like, dying.
Oh, yeah.
In such a dramatic way. Like, how the camera, like, zooms in and she, like, extends the hand out as it's, like, disintegrating into nothing.
And that, like, that last, like, ghastly wail, and then it slowly gets, like, pitched down as she's, like, disappearing.
And there's, like, the slow, like, little piano refrain for her, like... and thus ends, her own tragedy.
She was so dead set on creating a tragedy, she didn't realize she was creating her own.
Yup. It's so good. It's so good. And then we get...
It's so apt for, like, the theater theme that the game has.
Like, genuinely, I think that moment was where I really understood Grape as a character.
She literally, quite literally, she's a drama queen.
Yes! Yes, she is!
That is, like, the descriptor of her character.
I love it. I love it so much.
I remember we were making the joke how she's got, like, the outstretched hand. We were saying, like, the Terminator, like, she gives the thumbs up as she's
That's
going.
right! That's right!
I don't know if anyone plans on modding this game, but, like...
Oh, man.
You could do some funny things with this game, is all I'm saying.
And then, of course, we gotta bust the power scaling of Radiant Peach by having her restore the theater.
Yep. There are those, I look forward to seeing how the, like, canonical power tier list of Smash Bros. Characters, like...
I feel like video game characters have only gotten stronger the longer they've been around.
It's true, yeah.
But, like, this does lead into one of my favorite things, is the very end, the theater is returned to normal. Peach reverts from Super Radiant Peach to her normal self with Stella, and all the sparklers come up, and then everyone takes a bow.
Yeah.
And that singular moment leads me to this theory of, was this entire thing a play?
Like, not the...
Is this Super Mario Bros. 3... like, where the entire game is a play?
Mm-hmm.
And you could argue, well, I mean, the whole thing is a game.
Right.
And so, like, structured in that, yes.
I would argue that the entire thing is not a play on the grounds that Madame Grape doesn't come out and take a bow with the rest of the cast.
She doesn't, yeah, she doesn't. And so, it's not, but also, like, it's kind of in that, like, gray area.
Yeah.
Where, like, you could kind of... Because it's like, well, who are they bowing to?
Mm-hmm. It's to the player, to the audience.
To the player. And so, like, in terms of it being a video game, is it a play?
Right, because what is a video game if not a production set up to entertain a single person that is the audience?
So it's good, really cool to think about. It's just really cool to think about. And I think about that fact and how much I freaking love this game.
Mm-hmm. It does feel like a very sincere love letter to the arts and theater and performing.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's what I had to say about that.
Mm-hmm. And with the ending, like, you remember me saying this, but I was like, I had gotten so accustomed to Peach's look in this game with the ponytail and everything. When she finally lets her hair down and puts the crown back on, I was like, this doesn't feel right. This isn't what I'm used to anymore, because I'm not used to seeing Peach like this.
But also, it does complete the look for her.
It does.
Like, her having the crown back is like, yup, there is our princess.
It's we got the Peach and we got the Showtime. There's the princess.
Mm-hmm. I also just really love that Peach lets Stella crown her.
Yeah.
Just Peach and Stella are now like BFFs forever now. Like, they are best friends, and I will accept nothing other than that. Because, like, they just survived all of that together, and they worked together and saved the theater, and I just love it.
I'm thinking back to Mario Odyssey now, and I'm like, man, if I had a nickel for every time Peach befriended somebody who transformed into her headwear and they went on a perilous journey together, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
Yup.
Good stuff.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Well, shall we take this to the namesake of our show?
Let's do it.
This is the section where we trade our favorites, so to speak. We talk about our most favorite aspects in different categories of the game. First and foremost, we will be covering our favorite level. And maybe sort of by extension, our favorite role for Peach. Because why would your favorite be not the one that your favorite level? Anyway. Oh, tell me, David, what was your favorite level from the game?
For me, I think it's the cowgirl levels. They add like a hilarity and intensity and cool factor. And also, I'm incredibly biased because it was my son's favorite.
Yeah.
And so, like, not only is it something that, like, is just cool and awesome on its own, but also there's, like, a deep connection with that where, like, this isn't just a game I'm gonna just be like, oh yeah, I played this and it was good. This is like, no, this is a personal connection between me and my son.
Yeah.
So I have to give it to the cowgirl.
Would you give it to any particular one of the 3 cowgirl levels, or...?
Probably Act 2.
Okay.
Act 2 is insane.
Because out of the cowgirl levels, I'm inclined to agree with you that Act 2 was great.
But, like, Acts 1 and 3 are very close. Like, Act 2 beats it out just because of, like, how good the set pieces are. But, like, Act 1 and 3 are also up there.
Mm-hmm.
What about yourself?
Okay, for me, I was expecting to have, like, 1 or 2 out of the whole game that would, like, easily stand out as my favorite. That's kind of not the case. Like, I was very impressed by a variety of the styles.
It's hard. This was a hard choice. I should specify.
And I want to point out that, like, there's the obvious cliche of, like, oh, he likes ninjas, so he's gonna like the ninja level the best. I genuinely, like, having replayed through the levels a couple of times, because I haven't 100%ed the game, but I at least got all the sparkle gems, and am, like, on my way to 100% the game. I've had to replay all these levels a couple of times, and so I'd really gotten to know them, and so I promise this is not just on aesthetics, but I am actually judging the level accordingly. Ninjutsu, the Art of Flames, which is the second ninja level.
Yeah.
That one was just really solid. You're sneaking around a stronghold. You've got, like, the flipping doors that make the guards dizzy. And that final ride on the dragon made of flaming gears.
Yep.
And of course, like, the accompanying music has such, like, a Ninja Gaiden feel to it that it's just... It's all the cliches of the ninja, but it's all of them working well and harmonizing to create a beautiful final product that's very fun to play. So yes, I did just go with the ninja one because the ninjas are cool.
No, that's valid. The ninja is up there for me. It was a contender, and my son being a deciding factor for me. Right. Is why I went with the cowgirl.
I agree, and that's the thing that's so funny is, like, ancient Japan and Wild West stuff. It, pretty much aside from the coat of paint, are the same kind of thing.
Oh, they took place at the same time.
They did. like westerns and samurai movies, like, the gun and the sword are, like, the only differences.
and maybe the style of shoes.
Yeah. Spurs versus sandals. All right, let's move on then.
Yep. So the next one that you had on here was favorite outfit.
Yes, and this is referring to, like, the collectible outfits that you can wear on the overworld. And if you have a favorite, like, ribbon for Stella, that too. But...
Yeah. Well, what do you have?
All right. So for me, it was a little tough to narrow it down because because for as much as we want to rag on, like, oh, there's the ugly ones, like the bright green one you get for beating Light Fang and whatever, like, there are some really good looking ones too. For me, I think the special Mighty Dress, which is, the purple one with, like, the planets and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That one, I just really like the shade of purple. There's a couple of purple dresses that you get in the game, but that one had, like, the most appealing color to me, I think.
Yeah.
As well as just, like, the pattern on it looking really nice. But my answer could change depending on the time of day.
Yeah.
I will also say for ribbons for Stella, the multicolored dashing thief with the black and red.
Mm-hmm.
Black and red is a really good color combo. And I like how it looks on Stella.
Yeah. For me, this was tough. I want to give an honorable mention to, I think it's called like the sparkle dress.
Yeah.
That one, I played a lot of the game wearing that because it's really good. As well as, I like just the base cowgirl one. It's the cow print. I just think is really funny and fun. But ultimately, I think I have to give it to the special kung fu dress because it's the one that has like it's orange and it's got the dragon going up the side.
Yeah.
It looks so good.
I remember, like, after we did the kung fu stuff, you were like, go to the shop, go to the shop, go to the shop. And I was like, okay. And then I looked at it, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, like, it goes hard. It's really good.
It's a good one. It's Chinese aesthetic, man. Like, they do clothes. They do clothes really well.
It's also, like, the asymmetry of it.
Yeah.
It makes it really nice. As for Stella... I think it's also the one that matches the sparkle dress with Peach.
Yeah.
Because it's like Stella's normal colors, but like more light in them. They're like much softer, lighter colors, and I think she looks really good in them.
Yeah, I agree. Most of the multicolored ones look really good. And like a lot of the special ones.
Yeah, the multicolored ones look really good. Another one is also like the special ninja. It's like the black and the green.
Mm-hmm.
Just chef's kiss. Looks great.
Yeah, for real. Okay, next we're gonna go to favorite boss. And we usually decide these rules on the fly. Do you want to include the final boss, Madame Grape, in there?
Let's not, just because we know that it would be her.
That's what I was thinking, is like, gameplay wise, it's the most interesting. The spectacle is all there. It's kind of an easy answer. So out of the 4 like floor bosses.
Yeah, out of the 4 floor bosses, for me, it's really close between Light Fang, but I think I'm going to give it to Spot Lion.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, like, his design is cool, like, the laser stuff is cool, and, like, bouncing the light balls and stuff. Like, I don't know. I just think he's neat.
It's neat, yeah. In my case, if I hadn't done the boss rematches, and I would have gone off of strictly, like, first playthrough initial impressions of all the bosses, it would have been Projector, because dang do I love that design, and I love how much personality as a character he has, but that fight made me so angry. Having to redo it and doing the little, like, just slightly making a misstep and bumping into a paw and having to redo the whole fight. I'm just like, I'm done. You had your chance.
Stupid cat.
So categorically then, if it's not him and it's not Madame Grape, the next one I'd have to pick would be Light Fang. Just a very enjoyable platforming sequence.
You know what it weirdly reminded me of, now that I'm thinking about it, is like the chaos, the perfect chaos fight in Sonic Generations.
Oh yeah, how it's more of like a platforming level,
platforming challenge than it is
just like a fight with an enemy,
like a knockdown brawl.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh man, yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Now it's my turn.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, who was your favorite Sparkla? And when we were setting up these segments, I specifically wanted the Sparklas because I wanted to highlight them.
Yeah.
Because I think the Sparklas are really cool characters.
Mm-hmm. I will say it's definitely not easy for me to pick because, as we had discussed, all of them in their final act of like that gameplay type, they all contribute in such impressive ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I was definitely thinking that some of them would be better than others, but they actually do all contribute in a way that's really cool.
Yes.
So this is one where I feel like my answer could flip very easily if I just give it some more thought on like a different day. But for now, I would have to say it probably goes to the ninja.
Yup. He was up there for me.
For the reason that, like, that escape sequence with him while you're, like, running through, you know, just in the void, like a crumbling world. And then there's, like, the final showdown with the ninja, and the two of them dashing at there, and you have to time your dash so you get in there with him and overpower the enemy. It's all good. It's all the ninja cliches that I want. I keep saying it, but it's...
It's cool.
It's everything that I could want, and he's got the full the hood and everything, and the scarf, and and I like how his outfit matches yours.
Yup.
Like even more so than most of the other Sparklas, he's really got a look that just kind of makes him look the same as you, and I like that. All right, who was your favorite Sparkla?
So this was tough, and like I flipped like multiple times between a bunch of them.
I did too.
Because like, you know, so like I could be persuaded, you know, like the ninja was up there, the cowgirl was up there. But ultimately I decided on the dashing thief.
Yeah, that was another one I liked.
Yeah, because like one, he has so much personality out of like all of the Sparklas. Like you meet him and immediately you get his vibe.
Yeah.
Like he's got the very distinguished mustache. And like the level would literally be impossible without him. Because it's a segment where like you are each in separate areas opening the path for each other.
Yeah.
And like he goes through the whole level with you. You know, like even when he's imprisoned, he's like giving you instructions of like, hey, this is where you need to go to get me out of here. And now that I'm out of here, like let's go together. And so like I gotta give it to him. He was really good. But again, I could be persuaded to change, like on
definitely.
a dime.
I certainly have a bias towards him as well, for the reason that one of the aspects of, here I go, I'm gonna fanboy again, but one of the aspects of Kaito Kid that's great, and like his backstory, is that his dad was the original Kaito Kid. And then he like mysteriously disappeared, and he like takes up the mantle as the new Kaito Kid. And so this Sparkla reminds me of that character, his dad. And so seeing like the two Phantom Thieves working together sort of like reminded me of
it's
all
good
that
stuff.
Oh, it's funny though. All the Sparklas are so good. This is an aspect of the game where it's, again, I was expecting some of them to not be as impressive, but then they all pulled their weight in a really fun way. Okay, back to me asking you now. What's your favorite song from the game's soundtrack?
This is tough. I'd narrowed it down to 3.
I narrowed it down to 2, but I could be tempted to like bring back a third one.
Okay, so depending on what you say and what knocks off of your list. If I have to pick one, it is Assassin Disco, which is the ninja level theme.
Yes, definitely. Me too.
It's so dang good.
It's so funky.
It really is. Like, 'cause, you know, it's got that like kind of like ninja-y feel, but it's also like a very funky ninja feel.
Right, because it's got like a lot of like the synths and like the sounds and everything that make it sound very like mystical. But then it's just got those like guitars in the background and the really bumping bass.
Yep.
Like that's why like the two words that make up this title are the perfect choices. It's Assassin Disco.
I don't know. I'll let you say yours, and then I'll throw out my honorable mentions.
Right.
In case any of these are there.
Realistically, since like my favorite parts of the game are pretty much all the ninja things, then it probably is Assassin Disco. But purely on a music front, the other one that I've absolutely got to give it to is Legendary Dragon Kick, which is the level music for the Kung Fu stages. 'Cause, like, my goodness, just hearing, like, all the Chinese instruments, and especially, like, the flutes, it gives it such a grand, adventurous feel as you're just, like, bashing through hordes of enemies.
Yeah. My honorable mentions were Gliding Across the Snow Cap.
Yes.
From the Figure Skater, because that one stunned me the first time I played it. And then also just Darkle Battle, which is the boss theme.
That one is also great.
Is so jazzy and funky and just good.
I think my honorable mention, I want to give it to, I didn't have it here on my notes, so I forgot the name of the track, but it's like Farewell, The Great Escape, which is like the big finale for the Dashing Thief levels. That's
another really good one.
Because that's the thing, like the chill, cool, like jazzy spy music as you're going through the levels. You're like, oh, this is neat. Like, I'm having a good time. But then you get to the end where you start paragliding and making your escape, and the music just crescendos. Like, it's perfect.
It's good stuff. Okay, back to me. For your favorite moment, and we're gonna do in-game and then from our playthrough.
Right. So in-game covering just like specifically like what happens in the game generally, and then our playthrough specifically like when we played, what was our favorite moment.
Yep.
Okay. So the thing about this, a lot of like what I've been saying is like my favorite stuff is from a gameplay perspective. And so I would say, while the detective had the weakest gameplay style, the end of level 2 with the bomb, like, again, like the detective gameplay was not my favorite, but that was maybe the biggest reaction that the game got out of me. Because it's just so funny that they're like, in a matter of seconds, they've got to throw the bomb out the window, and, you know, the junior detective face planting, like, it killed me. That was like a masterclass in like hilarious drama. So it's
that's a great moment. For me, it's that final boss.
Yeah.
Super Radiant Peach is so cool, and like genuinely, that was the moment where this went from I kind of want to play this with Joseph to like I need to play this with Joseph.
Yeah.
Like that boss gives me chills, dude. It's so cool. All right. Back to me from our playthrough. Honestly, I think my favorite moment from our playthrough was the sheer joy that you were exuding when you did the ninja levels for the first time. like genuinely, the energy in the room in the call just changed because you were so excited. And you're like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. Look at all these cool animations. Look at all you were exploring every nook and cranny for everything in those levels, and it was like the energy was infectious, and I just loved it.
Oh. It really was a good time, because there was that point, first it was the cowgirl level that really got me to, it kind of raised the bar for what I was going to expect from the game, and then we got to all the ninja stuff, and then I was just toast. Yeah.
Oh man, what about yourself?
There are some things that come to mind for me. Obviously, though it's kind of cheating, and because she snuck her way into our podcast when she shouldn't have, Sakura being there as we finish the game, and the three of us reacting to Super Radiant Peach. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun.
It was really cool.
But I think another moment that was so specifically our playthrough of the game that I really loved was when I was speedrunning the Dashing Thief level.
Yup.
And just all of our jokes about the bad guys trying to be okay, we'll catch the thief now. Whoa, she's already over there? What?
Yup.
It was just such a silly concept, and I was thinking about that every other time that I try to speedrun through a level. Just, what is everyone else on the stage thinking? As they're trying to establish a story, and Peach is don't care, gotta go. It was very silly.
Yep.
All right. That about covers it for this game. We got way more discussion out of this game than I was expecting. Yep.
Are we ready to move into our final thoughts?
We sure are. With this, we'll just kind of wrap up, kind of end our, our thesis with whatever we want to say about the game, things we didn't get an opportunity to say elsewhere. How do we do this now? I've already forgotten.
I can go first.
You showed the game to me.
Yeah, I showed the game to you.
So, yeah, I guess if you want to go first.
Yeah, because again, the thing about this game, a lot of the conversation around this game is that it's too easy.
Yeah.
And, I'm is that a bad thing? And so part of when I played this for the first time, the last game I played before that was the side order DLC for Splatoon 3.
Yeah. And
it kicked my butt. It was tough. It's not any Dark Souls or anything severely punishing, but it was a roguelite. You're meant to lose and to grow stronger and come back and try again. And then, they added extra things that made it very difficult at the end. And it was a bit of a slog to finish that game. I 100%ed the DLC. I got everything. I beat it with every single weapon, including the ones that I was garbage with. And so when I'd finished that, I was in the mood for something much easier. I was I felt like I'd run a marathon.
Yeah.
And this game was exactly what I needed. It wasn't challenging to play it, but it was just challenging enough. It required me to engage with it just enough to, actually make the things happen, but also wasn't too demanding that I could it was just relaxing and just fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it really was a palate cleanse for me. And, even though it wasn't difficult to beat this game, I was very much enraptured in the spectacle of it. You know, the levels are just fun and charming. It's got a good sense of humor, and like there were times where like the stakes suddenly escalated. And I'm just like, oh shoot, I gotta lock in on this. And it was great that this game just lets Peach be cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's its own self-contained story. There's no acknowledgement of like Mario or Bowser or anything there. Like, Peach just gets to have her own adventure. And then just the cherry on top for me was that it was a way for me to connect with my son. Just on another level. And like, it's been so fun after seeing him do this and seeing him start to get into games and figure it out. And, you know, it's really funny to me now that we'll boot up Mario Kart and he will immediately recognize Peach as one of his favorite characters. And so, you know, I like to answer the question, it's not a difficult game. But I don't think that should detract from this being a good game. That's what I gotta say about it.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm so glad to hear that your son found such enjoyment with this and like recognizes Peach in other places because of this game. That really is the sign that, like, you know, a child connects with a character if it's not just the one game that they like them in. To give my thoughts now, as I've said before, this is not a game I can recommend to everybody. We got the parents' perspective with David, and also the fact, you know, like, you were playing a difficult game and then wanted to move to something easier afterwards. That's not how it's going to be the case for everybody. But, like, that's the thing. Like, if we're talking, like, parents wondering if they should get this for their small children, easy recommendation. This is, like, one of the best games for kids that don't have a lot of experience with video games. It's amazing for that. But the real question is, to the average gamer, like people who play a lot of video games, that's when the discussion gets a bit more complicated, because it depends on what your tastes are and what you hope to get out of playing a video game. And if you hope to get the same thing out of every video game that you play, or if you play different games for different reasons. Because, you know, for me, it's a cozy ride through a game with a charming atmosphere, and that's really all it takes to keep my brain occupied. But like I said, I'm huge into Kirby, and Kirby will not push you unless you play the game for long enough and sort of consent to the more difficult aspects of a Kirby game. This game is tremendously simple in its design, because it's meant to be accessible for people who have never played a video game. And so, like, I say, like, hey, let's not gatekeep. If you're really into video games, and you really like challenging video games and everything, those exist. And you can play those. And it's okay that this game isn't for you. But, you know, If you are really into, like, a variety of games, and you're like me, in that you can just enjoy something for what it is, and, like, the tone, then I think you will like this game. It's got a lot of charm. And Goodfeel as a company is great at making easy games that are very comforting to play. Because that's, again, like you said, you came off of playing Side Order from Splatoon. I just got finished with the Elden Ring DLC, Shadow of the Erd Tree, which is... that final boss is nuts. I have never seen anything in a video game that requires reaction times like they are asking for from that final boss. And I haven't, like, played all the other, like, FromSoft games. I'm not, like, hugely invested in FromSoft. I played, like, the original Dark Souls and then Elden Ring. So, like, I was not ready for how hard that game was gonna go. And then I could still turn around and play a game like this and enjoy it. because I'm enjoying it for different reasons than I enjoy Elden Ring. I'm trying not to like ramble too much. My thoughts are a bit everywhere, but to kind of rein it in. Like, in terms of the discussion about like difficulty and everything, I think aside from difficulty, I still kind of wish this game could be more. Definitely in terms of length, it's very short, but also in terms of scope, there's only so much that you can do to produce a game on a budget. And again, it is meant to be an easy and accessible game for kids. But, like, here's the thing. Mario Odyssey is technically also a, quote, kids game. But it's got an insane amount of scope and life and, you know, exploration and adventure. And there are, like, little bits of hidden challenge for those that do want to, you know, get to a post-game and experience more. And it kind of feels like the developers think they have to choose between, you know, appealing to, like, girls and, like, making a game like, oh, this is a game girls can play. They have to choose between that and, like, making a complex game. When, like, the vast majority of girls that I know that play video games are into The Legend of Zelda. So that's, like, hardly the case that you have to choose between demographics. Like, there are these little sparks of brilliance in this game, but, like, I want to see a sequel or, like, another game in this style starring Princess Peach that will turn those little, like, sparks of brilliance into, like, a big flame and make, like, a really ambitious project with, like, a lot of Nintendo budget.
You want more sparkle.
Yeah, I want more sparkle, darn it. I've worked this hard to get my sparkle, and it's not enough. It's, like, I really feel like Princess Peach could become something of her own beyond just the girl in Mario games. But it's, like, I get that it takes time and, like, developers kind of have to prove themselves. Like, Goodfeel has to be like, okay, we made this game, which reached moderate success. Now Nintendo trusts us to make a bigger, better game with more budget in the future. Like, you gotta work your way. And so this is baby steps towards, you know, like, Peach is already an amazing character that I love, but, like, she's getting better, and she's getting there, and I want her to be on par with the rest of the Nintendo characters. Anyway, at this point now, I definitely am rambling, so I think I'll leave my thoughts there. So yeah, from there, those listening, if you're interested in trying out the game, I hope we did a good enough job of selling you on it, and I hope you do have a fun time playing it. For us now, it is my turn to recommend a game to you.
Yes, that's right.
And so I will now go ahead and tease what we'll be doing next time. I'm wondering if you suspected that I would choose this game or not. This is on our list of ones that we have talked about, but no
earthly clue.
Okay, that's good then. No guesses. Well, we've got a message here. Allow me to just read this. The first of a new generation of robots, which contain an innovative new feature, the ability to think, feel, and make their own decisions. However, this ability could be dangerous. X possesses great risks, as well as great possibilities. I can only hope for the best. Dated September 18th, 20XX. Signed, T. Light. Next time on Tradin Faves, we're playing Mega Man X for the Super Nintendo.
Oh boy, here we go.
I am stoked. This is one of, like, okay, I introduced, like, we started this podcast with you playing Super Metroid, which is, like, my favorite Super Nintendo. This game is up there. This is another one of my favorite Super Nintendo games.
Ooh, boy. Okay.
And it's...
okay.
And that's the thing, like, you've gotten your taste of Mega Man already. You've played the classics. You've played later stuff. You played Command Mission, but we don't really talk about Command Mission.
I barely count the fact that I played Command Mission.
No, I mean, it's It's fine, but it's an RPG, so it's very different.
Oh man. Okay. Cool. Because no, you didn't tell me what it was. You just told me, oh yeah, this will be a shorter game.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've been trying to think what it is you could have picked, and now I'm like, oh, okay. I know where we're going now.
We're getting into this finally.
Oh, we've talked about this in the background for a while too. So I'm okay.
For those listening at home, there is a thing. At some point, David has been hoping to get me into the what is it? The Mega Man Zero series.
Yep.
Because you've played those.
Yes, I have. And so it's gonna be we wanted to start with X, but then we'll talk about this more when we get to that episode. But
I figured it's only fair, since I'm really into the Mega Man X stuff but haven't seen Zero, that we start with this first and then work our way through the series that way. Not that we're gonna play all the Mega Man X games. We'll just do this one and then move on to the Zero. But anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But that'll be for next time, so...
That'll be for next time.
Thanks everyone for hanging out with us, listen to us talk about this silly, fun princess game.
Two adult men talking about princess game.
I like girly stuff, okay? Tradin Faves with David and Joseph. More like Tradin Faves with Blarg and Joseph. Did I do it? Did I make comedy happen?
Oh, I felt my soul leave my body.
It's okay, I'll use the power of Sparkle to bring it back. And it won't be as difficult to synchronize as it was last time.
No, it absolutely wouldn't be.
With
Oh no!
just like, I'm gonna start recording at this random point while we're talking about recording and not let anyone know that I started recording.
But what if I were to start recording and not tell anybody? Delightfully devilish, Snowfie.
And I didn't catch it because I was like I did the countdown just for you. Mr. Guano was like, hey, I also started recording at the time that you said. And I was like, did everybody start recording? And I was gonna say when I counted down from 3, but before I said that, Snowfie said, yes.
Like a liar.
No, not like a liar. He just didn't say yes to when I did the countdown. He just said, yes, I started recording.
Uno reverse card.
My need for snackies is my worst enemy.
More like Blargle, and then you just vomit aggressively. I'm just imagining that dude sitting on the steps and doing that.
Just like he's got like an empty like popcorn bag.
No.
He's just like, Darkle, more like blue.
And he just like looks up and just got him.
Got him. I'm so funny.
A master of comedy am I. I should have been cast as the Sparkla.
The stand-up comedian Sparkla.
It's just Peach with like a pair of Groucho glasses. And like
little prompts for like what jokes to say come up, and you gotta choose the right one.
And she's got like the arrow through the head like headband.
And then for the finale, you get a watermelon and a big mallet, and you just Gallagher the whole thing. This is a good start.
Oh man. I'm gonna not play with this stud finder.
Stud finder. It just keeps pointing to me.
I thought about making that joke, then thought, nah, I'm not that self-absorbed.
That's something a stupid person would say.
Maybe. I had the idea to, like, one of these days have Yumi and Sakura, because of course Sakura's gonna just jump in. Call
her out like that.
Only if you put it in the episode.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I probably won't include this in the bloopers then, for the reason that people would be like, why don't you invite me?
Here's the thing, Sakura invites herself. Like she's going to wind up with like some type of like producer role in the credits for this show. Because she keeps like finding her way into every episode. She's gonna just replace me.
Probably not. But if I were to replace you with someone, she's definitely higher up the list than not.
Look, Sakura just like she just kind of materializes into the call sometimes when we're just doing stuff for the podcast.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh hey, Sakura might be showing up, and then she just does. I'm like, what the okay. If you've seen that one oh gosh. I want to say it's Family Feud. And they're like a 3-letter word for an animal, or like animals with 3-letter names, and then like immediately the guy hits the buzzer and goes, alligator.
Alligator. A-L-R. Alligator.
Just like the confidence at which he just like locks that in. Like the speed at which he like immediately hits that buzzer. It's just like, why?
My man heard animal,
and he was like,
and no further instructions were needed.
I know what I'm doing. Now
that as we think of the little girl, just, can I pet that dog? It's an alligator.
Did I sent you that one thing? It was like all of the D&D races, but as dogs. And then when it gets to Dragonborn, it's just like a crocodile.
That's funny. Yeah.
Hey.
I'm Mr. King Dice. Da, 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 da.
I see trees of green.
Red roses too. Red roses too. And I think to myself, red roses too. Just really trying to like scratch it up even more than the jalapeno chips. when you're ready,
I
can...
taste blood.
I taste a bit of blood.
Red roses too.
I'm eating flowers. Red roses too.
Boy dinner.
And I think to myself, boy dinner. What a mess. Why does anyone watch this show?
Nobody does. We do.
That's true. People listen to this show. They don't watch it.
I was gonna say, I am not under the disillusion that people actually listen to our content. I use this podcast as an excuse to hang out with you and play games with you.
That's fair.
That's all it ever will be.
Yeah, I noticed before we started the show that we just like talk and like never do anything. And so it's like,
why don't we?
What if I gave us an incentive to do something, but also an incentive to talk more?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much background noise going on right now. Like I hear like sirens everywhere, and it's just like, did someone get shot? Like what is happening? Anyway.
Oh man.